please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Alex. And you may notice that's Alex's first official act here on the school committee. And we'd like to welcome him, winning the town election here just a week or so ago. So Alex, welcome.
Thank you.
And Chuck won re-election. How can we forget? Tough campaign against that other blank.
The write-ins.
Write-ins can kill you sometimes. That's it. Okay, what we're going to do tonight, folks, is we do each year following the first meeting following town meeting, is we reorganize. And the way we do that is, in a moment, I'm going to turn the chairmanship over to our superintendent, and he's going to lead us through the election of a chairman of the school committee. And then he'll relinquish the chair back to that chairman, and we'll continue, look for a vice chairman, a secretary, and then we'll go into the subcommittees. So with that, Kelly, chair.
Thank you. At this time, I will accept nominations for chair.
I just have a question on process here.
Yes.
The Board of Selectmen recently reorganized, and as they did so, they allowed for public comment. Is there a period that, I'm not sure what the process is here.
Well, we typically have public comment built into our agenda, but in terms of the organization of a school committee is a business meeting held in public.
Mhm.
So we typically rely on our school committee members to determine their nominations.
Mm. Right.
So that's the process we use.
Right. Okay.
Thank you, though, for asking.
Sure.
Again, at this time, I'll accept nominations for chair.
I would like to nominate Chuck DeCoste as chair. I don't know if he'll like that, but
I would like to nominate Paula Bella.
I think we have Chuck's nomination on the floor. I think we need a
Right.
second
We'll have
for
to deal
that
with that
before we
first.
proceed.
I'll
Yeah.
second the nomination, but I guess I asked, do you want to accept the nomination, Chuck?
For the purpose of voting,
Yes.
I'll accept the nomination.
Okay. And I'll second Paul Avila's.
Actually, I'll nominate Paula Bella.
Do we have-
A seconder for Paula Bell?
Yeah, I'll second Paul Avila.
And I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. Do we have a seconder for Chuck?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, what we're going.
Well,
You're making
also
it
you're
difficult
good.
for me, aren't you?
You're good.
The chair right now.
Yes. What I've typically done in these situations, and I don't end up in these situations very often, in 15 years, going to.
Maybe I've messed up the process.
No, that's okay.
Oh, you had a motion on the floor, so.
Right, so we need to vote on that motion. So our first motion is to elect Chuck DeCoste as chair.
Well, that's not necessarily the motion. It's the motion nominating Chuck DeCoste.
Right. So from there, we proceed to, I mean, we can do this two
What is
ways.
it?
Legally, we can do it two ways. We can do a paper ballot, or we can just do a vote. Do a vote?
to a vote.
Okay. So our first recommended elected chair is Chuck DeCoste. All in favor?
Aye.
One in favor? Opposed? Abstained?
Sure.
Nay, sorry, I'm
Opposed?
yeah, I'm opposed.
Sarah doesn't like me.
Motion defeated.
Motion to nominate. All right, so that motion's still on the floor? You have two motions on the floor at the same time?
The second motion, as we started the meeting, was we had somebody make a motion to elect Paula Vella as chair, and we had a seconder. Having said that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. Mr. Avella, congratulations. You're the new school committee chair for the 2013-14 school year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll turn it over to you at this
I
time.
appreciate it.
So
Thanks very
the
much.
first motion and the second.
Thank you, folks.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we don't do motion, it's just by voting?
So
In the
Alex made
minutes?
the motion.
Correct.
Second by Darrell.
Okay.
Motion was defeated. Mike made the motion, Darrell seconded.
Okay.
It passed.
All right, open up nominations for vice chair.
Nominate Chuck DeCoste for vice chair.
I second.
Okay, nomination made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of Chuck as vice?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it unanimously. Congratulations, Chuck. Secretary. Open for nominations for secretary of the school committee.
Nominate Darrell Baker.
Second.
Nomination made and seconded. Darrell Baker as the secretary. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Darrell. Congratulations, Darrell. Okay, look, let's proceed into subcommittee appointments. Everybody has the list of the school committee assignments. And you're getting that up on the board there, too? All right, thank you. Okay, one that we haven't really done much with, and that's the Bradford Sampson Scholarship Trust. Mike? Is that something you want to continue on?
I have no problem holding it, and I have no problem if somebody else would like to participate in that.
Anybody want to speak up on that? All right, permanent, excuse me, go ahead.
Do we just want to do it by consensus, or do we want to vote?
Yeah, I think it's, okay, that's fine. Permanent School Planning Committee. That's very different from the Permanent Municipal Building Committee. It's usually only instituted when we're looking at building a school or renovation like we did with Russell Street. This past year, we had no appointment. I don't see unnecessary for this year, someone to come off at a certain point. Everybody in favor of that?
Yep.
Okay, continue that. Regionalization Study Committee.
Oh, skipped evaluation.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Too fast on the iPad. Evaluation, current assignment is Darrell. Evaluation, this assignment involves management of the superintendent's evaluation, including compilation of individual members' ratings and presentation of results. Anybody want to supplant Darrell for that? Or Darrell, you want to continue there?
I think he's the right guy.
Okay.
Yeah, you're late.
Okay, so everybody's content with Darrell remaining. All right. Okay, now, speaking of the Permanent Municipal Building Committee.
You just jumped over.
Now you skip evaluation.
Two of folks. You must be new at this.
Can I rescind my vote?
Regionalization Study Committee had been Superintendent Kelly and me. Would anybody else like to get on that? Certainly, we really didn't do anything this past year. Last time we came close was a unionization issue, and that was with Maynard. And now we're going back 4 years or so ago, is the last time we approached anything like that. Certainly a committee we can keep populated. Right at this point, certainly don't anticipate much action this time. So, same folks? Okay, so that'd be Kelly and myself. Okay, now the Permanent Municipal Building Committee. Chuck is the incumbent. What we seem to have done here in the past is new folks have taken this particular committee on. Certainly when I first came on, I took it and Chuck was brand new. And there's actually good merit in this because we do have a permanent seat on that committee and populating it, certainly when we're building the buildings and then definitely going through renovation of Russell Street, but then also as other things go on. In fact, we have Rich Crowley here from the committee who's going to speak to us about a system, a building maintenance system. And having our voice heard in that committee is very important because it's a direct representative. And Alex, I'd like you to consider that, please.
Sure.
Okay. Everybody in favor with Alex doing that?
That's fine with me.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. The Technology Committee. Right now, as I look, I may be the most mature person on the Technology Committee. Maybe we need
Number
fresh
of years,
blood.
is that what you mean by mature?
Yeah, number of years, for sure. And Alex, I'd like you to consider that also. I know you're adept at it. You can probably bring quite a bit to the table in there. So if that's something you'd like to do, I'd certainly
Absolutely.
offer that to you.
Sure.
Okay, nope. Everybody okay?
That works.
Thank you. We're on a roll here, Alex. Legislation. Had been Chuck and myself, and certainly I know your ties with Senator Elbridge, more so, and then you had a little bit of tie also with Representative Arciero. And I think that could play well for us here in the town. You have that relationship already with them. You're actually frequently down there in the Boston area. That's another one I'd like you to consider.
Absolutely.
Okey-doke.
As long as this isn't a trend, right?
No, no, I,
We'll breaks.
we didn't tell you what really happens.
You're not
You
gonna
gotta
get
do
like
it.
3 more pages.
Be cautious here.
Policies. Now, here's where you're going to be very happy.
On the legislation,
Yes.
Alex, alone?
Yeah, what do you think? Because you've got a lot of other stuff going on. Unless you want to jump on with Joe Cole.
Sure. If, we've typically had 2 people on it,
Yeah.
that's the only reason I'm saying it.
You want to stay?
I mean, I can be your,
Mhm.
Your
I
wingman?
can be your wingman.
Yeah.
Your
All right.
lackey.
All right.
I like wingman better.
Me too.
Well, wingman's a very good Air Force term, so well done.
I'm sure that was the
Policies.
context.
Darrell's been doing, we said this last week when we didn't have to worry about getting him on the policy subcommittee, but he's been doing a great job, and very sincerely he has, and certainly Darrell, I'd like you to continue that.
Yeah, no, I'd like to do that.
All right, super. Oath to bills and payroll. Frequently, we require someone to go into the school department from the school committee and sign certain documents relating to the oaths and the bills. We'll be talking about that here in a moment, just as regular business. Mike, you've been doing that, can you continue?
I'm in Littleton, I have no problem doing that.
Everybody right there?
Yep.
Okay, Leas, I'm with town boards, town government. I had been doing that, and I'll tell you, I'd certainly like to continue. Is that something you're all okay with?
Yes.
That's fine with me.
You know? Negotiations, that's to work with the school committee's attorney and the superintendent in negotiations with collective bargaining units. Espacio is Chuck and myself. Chuck, I'd like to think you'd stay there.
I would like to.
Okay. As would I. So we okay there?
I mean, we're entering to go in all likelihood, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think continuity there will be important.
Okay, Alex?
Yeah.
Okey-doke. Representative Community Services, Park and Recreation Department. Chuck, you have that currently. You'd like to continue? We all okay there?
Yep.
Budget Subcommittee. Mike, you've been carrying the ball for us there. Is that something you'd like to
Perfectly,
continue?
perfectly happy to participate in that effort.
Okey-doke. Everybody okay there?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's all 13 that we had.
Do we have any consideration?
See that?
Do you have any other consideration?
I don't think so, no. So, anybody have any comments or questions on what we just did?
We want to do task force and other.
Well, the task force is actually a committee under the auspices of the superintendent, not the school committee. So you and I have already talked about the fact in terms of change in role. So my suggestion would be that both Bob and you stay on the task force and your titles just switch.
Ideally, yes.
And everybody okay?
Would that
with-
require a school committee action?
Well, no, because it's a subcommittee of the it's a subcommittee of the superintendent, not the
Alright.
school committee.
All right.
Yeah, that's why it didn't come up during the subcommittee assignments. And as you know, you've not been subject to the open meeting law, because it is under him versus
Right.
under us.
It's not a
which
public body.
gives that body a great deal of latitude that they may not otherwise have, because of the quorum requirements and the meeting requirements.
And
Just
for my, just a question, because I didn't catch what you meant by part of it. Right now, I think, Alex, you're listed as co-chair of it, so you're going to give up that title? Is that?
No, Alex is the community rep, so.
That part of the title. the
Right.
He's a
So,
community rep.
Okay.
Alex would become the school committee rep, and Bob would become the community rep.
Okay. I thought I saw something listed as co-chair.
He is the co-chair.
He is
That's
the
not the
co-chair,
title
but I
that
would
we're talking
ask
about.
that be changed.
Right, yes, that's what I wanted to confirm, that the school committee member wasn't going to be the co-chair of the task force.
The task force is really gaining momentum, and I want to make sure that we do everything possible to keep the people that are on the committee in place so that they can continue the momentum.
To Darrell's point, the co-chairs, the co-facilitators are chosen by the task force. So if it would be the school committee's preference that I not continue on as co-facilitator of the task force, that's fine. But it isn't, the facilitatorship isn't dependent on I being a community rep versus a school committee rep.
I guess personally, I was just concerned that, we've made it a committee of the superintendents, that I wouldn't want to have a school committee member in a leadership position that would imply that it was under the direction of the school committee.
And I know when we formed it too, we talked a lot about how we wanted it to be driven by other entities, not by us. So I think there would be a reasonable point of view to assume that would be a good thing to have him not be, any school committee member be.
Running it.
Exactly. Yeah, I like that.
That's fine.
Well, we can certainly,
We'll leave you guys to address it. You guys can
handle, I
address it
can address
yourselves.
it
Yeah.
Okay.
with the committee.
But that's
You have direction and,
Right, that's
you know.
helpful input for us going forward.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so from the school committee's perspective, Alex will be the school committee representative. Okay, Bob, would you like to continue being the community rep?
Yes.
Continue as community rep. Okay. Now, we did not vote on that last time.
No,
We need to.
because his-
So, we're all happy.
All right,
Thank you.
that's good. Before you move on, Chairman Avella, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce Chloe Shelford. Chloe is our new student council rep, and I'd like to welcome you, Chloe. We're looking forward to getting to know you during the year, and we're quite confident that you're going to replace your predecessor's shoes, so to speak, very well. So welcome, and if we can help you out in any way, just let us know. And our principals will be anxious to send you information prior to our school committee meetings, so you can do school reports. Welcome.
As the superintendent said, you do have rather large shoes to fill. I don't know if you're also going to take on the job of basketball operations director.
We're looking. We're definitely looking.
As I survey the audience tonight, I would like to welcome some folks here from other boards. We have Jen Bronson from our Board of Selectmen, newly elected.
Board of Selectmen, just a resident now. Thank you.
Brian Talbot from FinCom,
Also, just as a resident?
and Rich Crowley from the Municipal Building Committee. Are you a resident also?
Sometimes.
Stay with the Holiday Inn Express last night.
And also Planning Board. And we have teachers with us tonight, and we have Mark Levine, who's the senior LEA representative. Okay, is that a good way to say it?
Sure.
Let's go with that.
Okey-doke. We're ready for the consent agenda. So, minutes of May 9th, 2013, oath of bills and payroll.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda and pay bills.
Motion made. Seconded. Any discussion? And I am going to say just, I have a couple of just items, Darrell, if I may.
Amendments?
On the minutes, yeah. Line 39, did I misspell plague or plaque? Plaque to eat in, Q or a G?
Well, which was it?
Yeah, right, which was it? They're both legitimate words. That's why the spell check didn't get it.
Line 39.
It should be changed.
And then line 77, the superintendent expects 3 to 5 finalists unanimously. And that's the Director of Pupil Services search. Is that the right word we wanted there?
No. Just cut it off after finalists.
Okay.
Please.
So with that, if you want to just amend the motion with those two
And modify the
changes.
motion to accept the changes as recommended by Chairman Avella on line 39 and line 72. 77.
Second. You had a second? Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, interested citizens. That means you want to come on up, Brian? Okay, got it.
Brian Tarbox, again emphasizing private citizen, not FinCom. I'm just curious, in the previous year's budget, school department had, we had a bunch of cuts. We lost staff, we lost some programs. In this last budget, none of that was restored. I'm just curious, as a consumer of the school system, if the committee has could share any of their going forward plans for, do we expect to ask the town to recover any of those positions or programs?
Want to address that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that we have any plans to specifically ask the town to restore positions. Obviously, we would be asking the town and advocating for a budget that services the district in the best possible manner relative to balancing the needs of the district along with the needs of the town. We had an increase in our budget this year. It was a significant increase. We needed it in order to meet the contractual obligations that we had both expected and that were also deferred from the previous the previous budget, which went a long way towards minimizing the pain that we felt in the cuts that we did have to make. They would have been more significant if we hadn't been able to do some of those things. I sort of expect, because year by year the budget goes up, it's usually increased. It's only in times of extreme hardship that it's level funded. Level funded obviously would not mean level serviced. So I would assume that we would be advocating for an increase, and we'll be keeping an eye on growth in the town, tax receipts, information from the State House. But as we look at that information and anticipate an increase, we also have to anticipate what the FinCom and the Board of Selectmen are going to be thinking about increases on the town side. And once we determine what the workable budget amount is between what we think is appropriate and working with the FinCom and the Board of Selectmen, then we would make a determination about what can we do with that money. Would it be appropriate to restore positions, or there are times when the superintendent would say, I don't really, right now it's more important to the district and to what we're trying to do to not worry about it in terms of, gee, we cut these 8 positions, let's bring exactly back those 8 positions. He might tell us that he wants to reallocate some resources and restore some of that, but take the other money increases that we could conceivably use to put those positions back, to redirect them to another priority that he has that's emerged over the time as time has gone by. So, we'll be going through that process, there's no question about it. As always, we hope to add more programming, and acquire more resources to do more programming and increase the viability of the education that we're providing. But I wouldn't answer the question of, we're going to get those eight positions back, because we might make a determination that that's not the appropriate thing to do. Would explain why, if that's why we did it. But that's where we'd be looking at it right now.
Anything else?
I can add anything to
Okay, sorry, that was a great answer. I'm trying to parse that long.
Yeah.
I mean,
We talked about this in other meetings, is that year by year, how we spend the money changes. There's no question about it.
Absolutely.
Enrollment goes up or down grade by grade. We have new initiatives to come in. We have new requirements put upon us by the state or the federal government. So we're never the same district year to year in terms of how we spend whatever dollars we get. So I would never say that, we're definitely going to go get something back that we lost, because we may make a determination that we're better off going, not better off, but giving the resources that we have, we're going to make more astute decisions to go in a different direction than just going back to where we used to be. Because we typically don't do that.
And that's
Okay.
a great answer. Thanks.
And I can add a little bit. As a citizen, Brian, you're well aware that the memo from Board of Selectmen came out to the school committee and other departments in the town, that they were recommending that we had all departments had a level staffing budget. So the school committee took a look at that, asked the leadership team to develop a budget on that basis, and we took a look at that budget, and first of all decided whether it would meet the educational needs of the children within the district. Also bearing in mind that Prop 2.5 is very limiting to what a town can raise. The school committee, feeling of the Board of Selectmen, from our gauge, so to speak, we're not in favor of considering an override. So we had to decide, first of all, whether or not the configuration that we were proposing was workable or not, and we felt it was. Moving forward, there will be needs, but those needs need to be tempered with the reality of affordability. And that's what we're doing as a school committee and a leadership team.
Absolutely, and I'll say when I'm on Tuesday nights, I absolutely agree with that. When I'm on that other board that I won't mention. The other 6 days, maybe I want more. But anyway, thank you.
Alex?
So I'd just like to add something here. Most years, something that we really hope to do as a town is go forward with a level services, level programming and level staff budget. But I think that we need to be especially cognizant that the year following major cuts, we need to consider that level services isn't the same, level that we had, the year before. So while it's great that those services aren't, being reduced further, I think we should at least explore the possibility of saying, well, yes, this is what our level services budget would look like, to the BOS who sent out that memo, but also this is what level services plus would look like. So level services plus some other asks of ours that, given that we took a hit FY13, as we look in the next couple of years, as we get more monies in, looking at where we can go from there to not only stay on the ground we are, but to increase a little bit to sort of recover from that FY13 loss.
Every year that we do the budget, something doesn't get done that we would like to do. Whether or not it's in addition to what we've already been doing, or whether it's to replace something that we had been doing in the past and weren't able to do, or whether it's reducing something and adding it back to something else. The whole budget process, regardless of whether we get more money, the same money, or less money, something that we want to do won't get done. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. So the budget process is always, it's about money, but it's also about, from the admin team, what are the priorities, what are the requirements, what do you want to do, giving the resources that we're being afforded this time. So, it's always a weighted decision relative to, with the input we get from the admin team about how they would best spend a particular amount of money, or not, as the case may be.
Thank you very much.
And Brian, thanks for the opportunity for us to thank the town. Being on the FinCom, you know that the school budget did increase by 5%. Kelly had mentioned 2.5%, you start talking overrides, and you say, how does that math happen? It's through the generosity of the town and the way the town is able to move money around. And then certainly being a member of FinCom, I appreciate your comment that in your FinCom hat, you understand the rationale and the logic that we presented to the FinCom and the Board of Selectmen as to why the priorities, and as Mike just said, those priorities shift from year to year. And some things going to be the population of a particular grade is going to drive some of that. So thanks for the opportunity for us to once again thank the town for the generosity and the consideration of the children. Any other interested citizens? And I'm going to add one thing while I'm there, because we've got a bunch of teachers here, and we've got our LEA senior rep here. Thank you all, because you helped us get through 13. You took a hit for us. We deferred step raises for you. So I'd really like to say thank you for what you did in helping us out that way. So, and Brian, thanks for double opportunity. Okay. Any other interested citizens? Okay, no. Rich, you ready? Mr. Crowley's going to give us a presentation on facilities management system. It's something that the Permanent Municipal Building Committee is working out with the rest of the town and looking at all the facilities that we do have in town. And I won't steal any more thunder.
No, you're on a roll. A couple of years ago, we started to look at the various buildings in town after it was repair after repair after repair. I'm on the Permanent Municipal Building Committee, and it was just managing crisis after crisis. So we decided we needed to look at all the facilities as a whole, and try to come up with a plan or a summary of the building health, the health of each building. So we went out in 2011, and it turned out there was very little interest in what we were looking for. In 2012, there was a lot of interest, and so we settled on went through a RFP process, and settled on an engineering firm from Maryland. Now, this firm does analysis of all kinds of buildings all over the country for the GSA, for the states, different states and federal governments, and they do exactly what we were looking for here. We want to have a firm that's got licensed architects and engineers that understands the state building codes, that can go into a facility, analyze its, all the major components, the envelope, the mechanical systems, the accessibility systems, and the finishes, and come up with the report. And tomorrow will be our kickoff meeting with the firm, EMG from Maryland. And shortly after, we'll be entering all the buildings that the town owns, every one of the schools. We'll arrange it through Steve, and to have access at a time when it's most convenient for the school system, so that we can get into all the back areas and the outside and perimeter. And once our goal here is to get a summary from EMG that will basically give us a recommendation or determinations for all of the conditions and the life expectancy of the building systems and components, the anticipated maintenance and replacement costs for the different components, the present condition for all physical assets, the recommendations for correcting the deficiencies. There'll be a prioritization, a categorization, and classification of all the deficient conditions associated with all the various components of the building. The final project, the deliverable, will include a 10-year capital plan. It'll include a web-based information data system that can be accessed by any user. For the first year, we'll have access to the system, and then from then on, it's a very minimal amount to buy into their system, or we can have the software ourselves at the end of the year for no charge. It'll be able to generate reports. It'll identify deficiencies. You'll be able to get a report, for instance, Bonnie wants to find out how many components of all the buildings are going to need repair over the next 2 years or 3 years. She can go in and sort and find out, for instance, if MSBA decides to have a window replacement program like they did in the past, we can go in and find out when all the windows in all the various buildings are going to reach the end of their life and life cycle, and maybe if, for instance, if the funding is significant enough, you might choose to move replacement of windows up to take advantage of that type of funding source. EMG has also the ability to tap into various grants, both through the state and federal government, for infrastructure improvements and repair and energy efficiencies. So we'll be able to tap into that system and database as well. So generally, it's going to be a very user-friendly report that we'll have at the end of this. That pretty much anybody can use. It'll have administrative override, but through passwords, various people can have access to these reports, and it's a multitude of types of reports that you can generate from this, because it's all web-based and data-based. That's pretty much it. At the end of it, we'll know what we'll need to repair and when we'll need to repair it, and how much those repairs will cost.
Comment, please. Rich, thank you, first of all. It's, Rich has done a ton of work on this on behalf of the PMBC and on behalf of the town. And Steve Moore as well from the PMBC. Just a real simplified form. Basically, they're going to come in, they're going to identify current deficiencies. They're going to develop plans for long-term improvements. They're going to prioritize the plan, saying this needs to be done right away, this could probably wait. Going to do it all relative to need and cost effectiveness. And essentially, we have a lot of the square footage for the buildings in the town. We have 342,000 square feet, and there was less than 200,000 on the town side, I believe. Is that correct?
That's right.
So we're getting a lot of bang for our buck there. These guys did a great job vetting this company and doing some research and calling some other states and some other agencies, some other companies that have used them, and everything that we got back was positive. The only real detriment that we got back was some people didn't take full advantage of all the services they offered, and they regretted that. So Rich and Steve have really engaged a number of people across. I know they've reached to Steve, Bill Maher on our side of the house, and some other folks, Chief Wazinski, Keith Bergman, a lot of people, to make sure that we have the people in place that are going to be able to use the resources so that we can get the most bang for our buck for this study. So thanks very much. But that's really the boiled down version. Looking at our current deficiencies, develop a master plan, and then help us prioritize how to attack that plan.
And then budget for it.
Correct.
This is the main purpose of the whole thing.
Right.
So we're not managing crisis after crisis anymore.
Right. No put off bias.
Alex, any questions?
Yeah, so this master plan, this study will put us in a position as a town so we can think long-term instead of short-term fixes?
Absolutely. Yes.
Excellent.
Yep.
Great.
We can update it annually. We can update it biannually, every 3 years, depending on the the amount of infrastructure and the amount of improvements we do over time. There's no, it's very customizable to the size of our town and the number of facilities we have and their age of the facilities. Most of our facilities are new right now with the schools and the police station, but we do have the town hall, which is not new.
No, good, thank you.
Steve, are you able to attend that tomorrow? Kick off? Alex, that's something you'd like to go to?
Sure.
The kickoff meeting? What time and location?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock?
Sure.
Yeah.
307 Town
307.
Hall.
Thank you.
Chairman Avella, I wouldn't mind saying a couple of things.
Oh, yeah, please go
if
ahead.
possible. Rich, I'd like to thank you for your leadership in embarking on the development of what I call a capital replacement plan. Every district that I've been in has had such a document, and what's powerful about this document is that it takes a look at lifespan of all aspects of school buildings. It also labels things that need to be done according to critical safety ADA requirements and long-term. It also, I'm not sure whether this study is going to do that or not, but the ones I've had in the past also give us a cost estimate reflective of the current times to do repairs. Is that also true with this?
Yeah, this actually does it, and it uses New England prices, Eastern Massachusetts pricing. The database updates is updated every 6 months.
Excellent.
For the most covered labor costs in Eastern Massachusetts, so it's very regionalized. Now, it's got the capacity, if you wanted to estimate something, for instance, if you wanted to figure out what all the univentilators are going to cost in the Shaker Lane School, you can go right in and use current data information. There are forms you can access that will help you plug in numbers where you wouldn't think to plug in numbers, for instance, paint and sheetrock and cleanup, and come up with a rough estimate before you. So it's got terrific tools to go with it. And yeah, when Chuck was talking about the lack of other people not using all those tools, that's that kind of thing that is available for us.
Which helps the budget process.
Yeah.
Oh, very much so. And, we talk about leading the way, and we truly are. A lot of states have had incentives when they start creating capital replacement plans, and the state usually subsidizes them at least 50%. So
Right.
we have a situation in this community where the officials realize the value in having a plan and sustaining the beautiful buildings that we have. And we all know that if we're proactive, it costs far less money than if we're reactive.
Absolutely.
So again, thank you for your work.
Absolutely. For instance, if MSBA decides next year to come out with a capital plan to repaint the insides of buildings, they addressed a lot of the energy needs, the equipment needs over the past 3 years. But if they decide to start addressing some of the interior needs, we'll be ready for them.
Super.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rich. We appreciate it.
Great. Thank you.
Kelly, do you want to do the Canopy trip first, Canopy Lake trip first? Is it-
We certainly could, and actually, Principal Rankel's going to take care of that section, so. And I'm so glad that you led off on that, because last year my Western heritage came out when I was pronouncing that word, and you were so graceful tonight, not conning me into saying it first.
The best was Shauna, which, what did she call Aubuchon, like Aubutchin or something? Yeah, that was a good one.
Kenobi was pretty good, though.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
Just don't be offensive.
So just very quickly, the sixth grade is looking once again to take their end of the year trip to Canopy Lake Park, and as we know, they do this every year. It's a very successful trip. It's a blend of a reward for a great year and some interesting, authentic look at our curriculum, including science and math, and they're asked to take a look at the roller coasters and talk about some interesting connections that they have between the science curriculum. But it really is a true reward for having a great year. And respectfully, we know that we have to come to you guys because even though it doesn't feel that far away, it's over the border into New Hampshire. So we're just respectfully asking that they are allowed to go on the trip again.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve or allow the sixth grade field trip to go to Kenobi Lake Park.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the trip?
Aye.
Opposed? Get unanimously.
And Ms. Fennebecker is on her fourth night at Nature's Classroom, so I will text her and let her know she's all set.
Okay. Are you going out there too? You going to ride the log?
I probably will, yes. That would be the flume, by the way.
Tea party?
I don't like that one.
Pretty cat.
Okay, I will leave state of curriculum to you to introduce, Kelly.
Sure. Tonight, we have a presentation on our state of curriculum. And as you're well aware, we recalibrated the positions within our district from department heads to curriculum leaders. We're almost finished our first year of having the change. We've changed the job description as well, with the philosophy that we're setting short-term goals with a long-term vision. So we would anticipate that those job descriptions would be tweaked every 2 years. I'd like to commend all of the curriculum coordinators for the work that they've done this year. As you're going to find out tonight when they speak, you're going to see quite vividly that we're focused, we have direction, our curriculi are vertically and horizontally aligned, and we're certainly up to date with the new core standards. And also, I sent you an article just a couple of days ago on the soon-to-be looked at new science curriculum that is going to be a national curriculum that Massachusetts will consider. Having said that, we certainly had, I'm not going to say growing pains, but we had to really grow into these positions. The department head position, in essence, with the reorganization that we had 3 or 4 years ago, really wasn't doable with the job description anymore, and we had people filling those roles and diligently trying to complete them, but about this time of year, they're ready to pull their hair out because they were having trouble balancing all the demands that they had on their job. And we all know that the first responsibility of these people is to teach within their respective classrooms. So we feel that we've found a balance. They look very nice and calm and collective tonight, and I know the last meeting I attended, we had a good meeting, and they felt very good about what we've done during the year. So we're excited about continuing with this particular approach. I know we know them, but for public view, and I'd like to introduce them to everybody. Our ELA coordinator, English Language Arts, is Mark Levine. And thank you, Mark, for coming this evening. I know how busy you are, along with all the rest of the coordinators. Elizabeth Morgan, History Social Studies Curriculum Coordinator. And these are 6 to 12 positions, by the way. Kelly Ogden, Mathematics Coordinator. Valerie Finnerty, Science Coordinator. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to publicly recognize Valerie for completion of her EDD degree. So, Dr. Finnerty, congratulations. Elizabeth Kelly, World Language Coordinator, 6 to 12. Meredith Perry, my apologies, Health, Physical Education. And Hillary Bridge, Art and Music. Welcome. And at this time, I'll turn it over to our Director of Curriculum, Dr. Ajami.
Thank you. As the superintendent said, we're pleased to give the curriculum coordinators, some of you recognize them, they wore department head hats, you know them, to provide you with state of the curriculum reports, things that they've been working on with their students and teachers that we're excited about. We have all 7 of the coordinators here today for a state of curriculum updates in coming before you. What we're going to ask is we're going to ask the coordinators to come up in the order that they're listed. And we're going to break after Dr. Finnerty. We'll have the first 4 presentations and then give school committee the opportunity to ask some questions and then have the final 3 presentations and then some questions. Mr. Levine, you're first, and then you just, in turn, in the order that you're listed, please come up.
Mark.
Bruins game?
Can I vote for you to be chair quickly? Can I make a motion? It goes on this one. What letter are you?
You're not having any of it?
So she said, we'll read hers.
Simmons. Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be here. The English Language Arts Department once again had a very successful year. As you know and as you've heard before, we had outstanding scores and growth reports for the MCAS. Our SAT scores are outstanding. This past year, we started to work on and continue working on developing and adopting the Common Core. One of the biggest things that's been addressed by the ELA department is getting away from such a focus on literature and working more on informational texts, how to integrate informational texts into our curriculum, and then also doing much more on informational writing, sort of getting a little bit away from the creative writing. A lot of this we were able to do by going through what's called a standards trace. The standards trace is where we look at the curriculum grades, 5 through 12. And so a 6th grade teacher would look at grade 5, see what new things they're expected to teach in grade 6, and what are they expected to pass on to the teacher in grade 7. By doing that, we were able to determine that, by and large, we are addressing the needs of the Common Core already, especially with regards to taking information from texts, synthesizing it, and then putting that into writing for an essay. One of the major concerns that we've had is primarily around finding, excuse me, appropriate informational text for the younger grades, particularly 6th and 7th grade. In the 8th grade, we do things like the Year 1000, and when we looked at the Common Core and the recommended readings from the DESE, the high school was like, yep, we have that, we do that. So the high school was great. We contacted the DESE and got recommendations from them to start using more primary sources in conjunction with the science and the history departments. And so those are age appropriate. One excellent thing about them is that they are relatively free because since they're older, they're not copyright protected and we can access them online. And then we can also work with our science and our history counterparts to instruct the students on how to read these texts, synthesize information, pull it out, and document it in their writing. We've also started to gear up for the new evaluation process, especially as it relates to providing evidence with all the writing that we do. That's going to be not quite onerous, but it'll be a difficult task. In that regard, we're starting to use a lot of and pay a lot more attention to the technologies that we use. One thing that we use quite often is a program called Turnitin. Turnitin is a website whereby the students can submit their papers. It's a plagiarism protection site, so it identifies any issues for the students. It also serves as a repository for the teachers to keep a hold of these the documents. And they also have a grading component, which is excellent, especially as we start to enter into the 21st century, trying to get away from grading everything on paper, but to doing more online. That way, we'll be able to provide evidence for the student in much more expedient time. Also, provide evidence for the administrators when that time comes. Turnitin again is a great site as well for doing grammar and mechanics. There's a different drop down menu for the teacher where we can choose to let the student see errors in mechanics or in grammar or in spelling. We also have a lot of new technology at the middle school and the high school. A lot of the English rooms have now got Apple TVs, so they can use their technology for the students. We're also starting to use technologies and web-based programs for the students, things like Poll Everywhere, which are sources that allow the students to communicate and participate in a much more open, freer, but a little bit of an anonymous way in class. We're letting the students and asking the students to use things like Noodle Tools and BibMe and EasyBib, things that, and Sweet Search, things that enable them to better document their writing, especially with the informational text, to avoid plagiarism. And we've done a lot of work with that related to using the invaluable help from our library media specialist. If you ever get the chance, I recommend you go onto her webpage because there are databases and tools there. It's a wealth of information. We've also started, that seventh grade teacher, Janelle Orsioni, had started to use blogs in her classroom, and we're going to try and integrate those more by using a blog so the student would then, read something and respond online to the passage that was read. It enables us to get more into the flipped classroom, where you don't have to use the classroom to discuss the work of literature. You can do it from home, and then have the students start to debate themselves online with the teacher sort of overseeing everything, making sure that everything is appropriate. With the middle school, we've got the BYOD program, and so far it's been very successful. We are also trying to find, and with the help of Mr. Branco, more materials for the incoming sixth grade, because it's such a large class. We're making sure that we've got enough materials for them as time goes on. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce now Ms. Beth Morgan, the Curriculum Coordinator for History.
Carolyn, I understand the direction you gave us, and we're usually pretty good students. But I do want to ask, so that nothing gets lost, if any of the committee members would like to ask the question first. Is that okay?
That would be fine. Sure.
Anybody
We
want to
we
ask
can
one
adjust.
question, or you want to wait?
I'll follow directions and wait.
Just to ensure a thought wasn't lost on somebody. Thanks, Jay. I appreciate your forbearance.
Hi, I'm Beth Morgan. I'm the 8th grade history teacher as well as the history and social sciences curriculum coordinator. I'm going to start with a little pop quiz for anyone in the audience. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but I'm wondering if anyone wants to try to guess what the life expectancy is in Afghanistan. And this does relate to something I'm going to talk about, just not totally random. Anyone want to give it a shot? Afghanistan life expectancy.
47. 63.
7.2.
Okay, so Mr. Mark was the closest with 47. The actual answer is 49, which I learned at the Country Expo a couple weeks ago when I went to look at the 6th grade project that they had worked really hard on. I brought a board with me to kind of show, what this is one of the many. I mean, they were awesome. They did a great job, and the 6th grade team. It's an interdisciplinary project, kind of led by, I think, Mrs. Vandebecker, the geography teacher, but it was, I don't know if anyone in the room was there, but I thought it was great. And I teach about Islam, so that particular board really caught my eye because I was just so surprised and saddened that it's 49, because it just seems to be, it's a totally different country, but I took that away from the Country Expo, and I thought that there was so much good information there, and that particular fact really stuck with me. So I think the Country Expo is a good example of the strong connections that our department's making to the world outside of our school buildings. And I'll give you some more specific examples in a little bit that are pulled from my update. But I think our strengths this year as a department were connecting students to the outside world, whether it be the Littleton community or a larger audience, making history come alive as much as we can, given that most of what we teach about happened a really long time ago. Developing consistent curricular approaches throughout the department. So I started my report with some department initiatives that we've worked on this year, which involved consistent note-taking practices, 6 to 12, subject-specific and department-wide vocabulary, and a common approach to research. So the note-taking we worked on, and that was a short little project. The other two are going to be ongoing, and we're going to tap into next year also. This particular work I think was beneficial because it shows how we're trying to prepare our students to be better learners, thinkers, writers, and evaluators of information. It teaches them how to read and understand different types of text, which is stressed in the Common Core, and I think it's training them to think historically and think like a real historian might actually think, and looking at primary sources and other texts and evaluating, you know, what type of information do we get from different sources. The second benefit of that department-wide work, I thought, was helping the teachers to have better instructional methods that build from year to year and to have some continuity within our department. So this is my 15th year in Littleton, and so I really wanted to make sure that we had a little roadmap for like what we're doing as a department, 6 to 12, and to make sure that we're building, or for us to know how we're building on each other's work each year, so that there is a progression from 6 to 12 in some of the skills that we think are most important. The more interesting work I think that we've done is what we do day to day with the curriculum. And I really, like, when I was typing up the report, I was so impressed with like what all my colleagues have been doing. And I really think the students 6 to 12 are getting a really broad and varied approach to learning history and social sciences that is making it alive for them. So some of the things that I pulled from the report that I think are great are the Country Expo, which I brought the board to show you. Connecting the Enlightenment to the U.S. government, so that my 8th graders did that, and I brought 2 examples of that project. It was using Comic Life, which is an app on the iPads. So just wanted to show some of their good work. If you guys want to so the 8th graders sometimes get a bad rap, so I'm here to say they're doing a good job. Middle schoolers in general, but 8th grade, and trust me, every day, not every day is smooth, not every day is smooth, but they're doing a good job, and they get a bad rap. So the 7th grade has been involved in a couple archaeology activities. There's the history of Littleton High School display at the high school, which I think is really cool. I love to see, I mean, I feel like I've seen it evolve over 15 years, but that display just, I love stuff like that. The AP students are working on local history projects, such as one project example is how the Civil War affected Littleton by examining the motivations and socioeconomic backgrounds of those men who served from Littleton. So, and I love the Civil War, so I am really interested in that, that sounded like a really interesting topic to me. And I think a project like that is awesome because I still remember junior year history. I made a newspaper. I love the newspaper. I did then, I do now, but I made a newspaper about the town that I lived in Virginia, and I remember like getting old pictures and putting it all together. And so I think the students, a project like that is going to stick with them, and I think they're going to remember it for a long time. Some other U.S. history students created student-generated 21st century amendments. The U.S. 2 honor students are doing research papers. One of the topics that is being researched, examining the anti-war movement of the 1960s and 70s through protest music. The Facing History and Ourselves students saw a Holocaust guest speaker. The middle school, we had our Veterans Day Assembly that was a big undertaking, but I think it was very valuable. All these examples, I think, show that our department engages students in a variety of ways and makes history more meaningful and exciting. I think we try to connect what we're teaching through that Massachusetts says we need to teach to Littleton and the rest of the world. And in some cases, the students have their work available to a larger community, such as the awesome iMovies that my 8th graders have made this year and last year, and some other videos 2 years ago. So some of your children, a couple of the school committee members have children who they have videos on my YouTube channel that we can all look at. But and so I think that the department has done a great job of, and I just pulled some examples. The report has a lot more examples of like real life work that the students are doing, and trying to make history be more than just what's in the textbooks. Mr. Levine mentioned a bunch of technologies that the English department is using. The social studies department also, we have Wikispaces, my YouTube channel, or Edmodo. There's websites you can publish like PowerPoints that the students can then watch at home rather than watching them in class. And all sorts of the iPads have the middle school students are continuing to use those. And so I think that the students are engaged in a lot of exciting studies that involve technology. Also, I think that our department has a lot of strength in its teachers, like all the departments. But Mr. Jabai and I presented at the NELMS conference in April, and then Mr. Jabai also presented at a New England Social Studies conference. And I think there's other members of the department who I hope in the future will consider presenting, because I think we have a lot to offer, and I think it's good to represent Littleton in those larger organizations. And then I would like to thank the school committee for allowing us to use tuition reimbursement money for conferences, because I know a lot of teachers have taken advantage of that, and that's really stimulating and helpful, because that hasn't been available in the past. And also the support that you guys are giving to Ms. Vannebecker for her leave of absence in Vietnam. And I'm just going to end by saying, while we're not an MCAS tested subject, we're doing a lot of engaging, challenging activities in order to connect history to the world today and make our better students and citizens. And I think that we're doing a great job for that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Beth. We can ask questions here. Follow the rules.
And next.
Really intimidating to have to
Kelly Ogden.
Beth, I have to say.
Just present by the numbers.
Oh, yes, I'm glad I didn't cry. Put in.
Now she's going to cry.
I cried at the 8th grade. I've cried at the 8th grade end of year ceremony before, so. Ever since I had kids. Ever since that's it.
Yeah.
But I blame it on them.
Yeah.
Good job. I have no student work.
Speaks for itself.
I can write on the board 2 + 3 = 5. Didn't work. No. Okay. Kelly Ogden from the math department. This year, the math department has been busy as always. We started off I wanted to start off with some math contests and some student recognitions that has happened this year. For the past 6 years, Littleton High School has been involved with New England Math League, which is a national contest. It consists of 6 contests once a month for 6 times a year. We really encourage our students to get involved, and all the teachers really rally to get the kids to come. This year, we still have a great turnout with our kids. We've had approximately up to 90 students at a time taking this test in the cafeteria. It's quite cool to see 90 kids plugging away at math problems all in the cafeteria after school. Another thing that students have been involved with this year is we had a 4-man team attend the Merrimack College mathematics meet. This happened over April vacation, and it was, like I said, a team of 4. However, this had a little unique twist where one team member had to be a Merrimack alum, and that was me. So I got to, for the first time, be on the team and work with the kids to try to, there were 9 teams. With these teams, there was a faculty team of Merrimack College. There was a straight alumni team. There were current students of Merrimack College team. There was 2 of those. And then there were some high school teams, like myself. We ranked as the highest high school team. I was very proud of that, and we came in 5th overall. In the middle school, you might have noticed that the 8th grade MCAS had a significant increase this past year. We were very excited to see that, and I applaud Rachel for all her hard work. The Algebra 1 class is branching out and using more graphing calculators that were purchased through an LEF grant. The grade 7 class has expressed that they feel much stronger with the new curriculum and that they feel more prepared for what was coming up on this year's MCAS, given the new textbooks. Math Lab expressed that they were finding more success as well with the new textbooks and that they were using graphic models, graphic organizers, and students were showing better outcomes this year. As I mentioned with these textbooks, the students are expressing that they really do enjoy the text, that they like the online abilities. The teachers are definitely using those online abilities. Excuse me. The teachers feel that the transitions with the curriculum are much more smooth than in past years, and that the students are properly placed in 7th and 8th grades because 6th grade is not leveled. However, 7th and 8th is, and they're placed based on 3 things: the raw test scores of the year, the previous year's MCAS scores, and their current GMAT scores. In the high school, we have AP exams in both calculus and statistics, and I want to note that statistics is not an AP class. The only AP class the mathematics department has is an AP calculus. Last year, 28 students took the AP Calculus AB exam. 20 of them got 5s. This year, 17 took it, and 1 student took the Calculus BC exam. Last year with the statistics, again, not a AP statistics course, just an honor statistics course, 13 students took the AP exam. 8 of them passed with 13 or higher. This year, 19 out of 25 students took the AP statistics course. Technology in the classroom has boomed at the high school. Like I mentioned, we have the Algebra 1 text and the geometry text through Glencoe in our new adoption. Those books have proven to be outstanding. We're hoping to possibly look at Algebra 2 at some point because they are focused on the Common Core. We do have our projectors that every teacher is using. One teacher has a TV instead of a projector. She has done a phenomenal job with these. The iPads, each teacher has an iPad and is using Apple TV. Some teachers are actually using the iPad and some apps to record their notes as they are teaching on the iPad, and when a student is out, is emailing them the notes so that kids can watch the notes in live time. And of course, we are using our graphing calculators. In Algebra 1, there's still an alignment with 8th grade and 9th grade. It is the exact course. We are making sure of that. Students are taking the same midterm and the same final exam. Student placement is going really well, and the curriculum is getting much harder. As I mentioned several times already, our new curriculum with this book, students in Algebra 1 are actually learning topics that the kids in Algebra 2 are currently learning. So the kids coming into geometry and Algebra 2 through the process are coming with much stronger backgrounds. Obviously, the rigor is increased, and the curriculum is picking up the pace. And the 9th grade students say they feel smart. They're very excited that they can say they're learning something that a junior is learning. Co-teaching with the inclusion teachers, typically we run into situations where inclusion teachers don't feel comfortable teaching with the classrooms. However, I have to point out that we have 2 very great special ed teachers, Maureen Palangi and Zach Hurdle, and they've taken on a huge role in their math classes, their inclusion math classes, where they are actually teaching with the teachers. And the kids are essentially getting 2 teachers in one classroom, and I just wanted to commend them. I also want to mention that this year we've had quite a number of, well, no, I shouldn't say that. We've had an increase of ELL students, and these students aren't necessarily ready to take Algebra 1 or geometry, and they need differentiated help and different curriculums. There have been teachers in the math department that have done a lot of research to find materials and develop curriculum to help these students. And we even had a student who entered basically at a third grade math level, and she's had great strides and gains, and at this point, we're hoping that she will start a pre-algebra course in the fall. Enrollment in the math department continues to grow. Like I said, statistics is going crazy. A couple years ago, we had maybe 15 students taking one statistics course where we were doing half honors and half CP in the same class. This year, we've had 2 full statistics course, one in honors and one in CP. We have students taking 2 classes at a time, doubling up in geometry and algebra 2. We have, for the past 6 years, had a math tutor who's volunteered his time, Mr. Ray Streeter, and he is a citizen of Littleton, and he has been phenomenal this past year. I have a typo here. Our textbook adoption was September 2011, and we did have professional development, grades 6 through 12. That went really well. This year, in the fall, the middle school curriculum was realigned to include the Common Core and prepare for the MCAS. And coming up in a couple of weeks, the high school will be realigning to prepare for MCAS, actually PARCC exams for Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. As I mentioned, with the Algebra 1 students now learning topics from Algebra 2, we now have to figure out what they have to learn in Algebra 2. So there's going to be some changes coming up. Students are going in prepared for college. In fact, we are very excited in the math department to say that we have an alum of Littleton High School who has come in and really saved us with a teacher not being able to come back. And she just graduated college and is doing a phenomenal job backing up our students as a permanent sub. This year, we streamlined our Atlas maps, and we're going to continue to plug away at those. As I mentioned, we have common midterms and final exams, but it's not just for Algebra 1 with the middle school and the high school. It's also throughout our department. If we have teachers teaching the same class, but it's the same course, the kids get the same course. And we make sure that they're not getting 2 separate courses from 2 teachers. And then hopefully next year, as I mentioned, we do need to explore an actual class for pre-algebra because we do have some students that really need it. Thank you. And at this time,
I'm going to have to stay up here. I don't want you to, we'll be flexible.
Geraldine, you make the rules. We just play by.
So rather than having 4 presentations, just stay right here, and if we could ask Mr. Levine and Mr. Morgan to come back up. And so we'll have 3 presentations. Then we'll have the science and world language, and then we'll have the 2 K to 12 presentations.
Fine. I have no control. He's the chairman. You shut me down.
Someone will keep us surprised. Alex, any questions?
Yes. Regarding the English, as we're shifting to align with the Common Core and shifting away from the creative writing, we mentioned the blog posts that students are doing, certainly, in application in the 21st century. What other writing applications are we encouraging as we shift away from the creative, or less, I should say, less focus on the creative writing? What are students doing in that place?
Well, a lot of what the students are doing now is a lot of what they've been doing already. As you know, in the 8th grade, the students do an awful lot of creative writing, and we went through and did an examination with the standards trace and found out that the students do 5 creative essays and 5 informational essays. So to a large extent, we're already doing from all the grades a lot of informational texts. In the future, what we'll be doing is sort of training and doing more direct instruction with the students on how to read something, pull information from it, use it either as a citation or as a reference in their writing to back up their opinion. The blog postings are more of a sort of a free-form style, but the students still need to reference an exact quote or a passage from the text in order to defend their opinion. And so we're getting more into those, career and college kind of skills where, rather than, writing creatively, which is still an important skill. A lot of students, the reason that they become comfortable as writers is because they get comfortable writing creatively. But it's sort of directing those skills into writing very personally with good voice, but also able to cite and to defend their opinion based on the text.
So these changes are helping our students prepare for life as writers. We not only make a statement, but then are able to back it up.
Exactly, without a doubt. And that's one of the things that we've always been focused on is, you can't, in English, the great thing is, unlike math, where you can make a statement that isn't necessarily correct, but if you can back it up, you can be right. And so we could,
Oh, I know that.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Daryl.
You see, mine was pretty close to that, so let me pass on that one. So, maybe we've had it in the past. What's a curriculum map look like? Could you send me something?
Like Google Maps.
Well, no, just for my own education on that. But I think one thing I was looking for is sort of the assessment of where we're at with those relative to our performance on them, and where I think some of you talked about the strengths and weaknesses within each of the programs there. But I guess how are we going to assess how we're doing against the alignments and the changes coming up, to know what is better and what is worse? So we're making a shift. Even talking about shifting off of some of the creative writing to the informational ones. How will we know if we're successful with these changes?
Well, in the English department, a lot of it will be based on the new assessments that are coming out across, the PARCC assessments, the revised MCAS. Also, by continually going back and doing this sort of standards trace, by looking at the frameworks, not just saying, okay, have I met them, and then moving them aside, but actually evaluating them and seeing, am I doing, what are the changes expected between 8th grade and 9th grade? Is the 9th grade teacher doing those changes, actually meeting them, and revisiting those things consistently? We're fortunate that we are in a district where the teachers are given a lot of time to work via professional development on examining the standards, revisiting them, and then also we meet as a department. The 6 through 8 meets once a month, the 9 through 12 department meets once a month, and then we meet as a 6 through 12 3 times a year. And so that gives us the opportunity to get together and talk about how are things going. It's a great asset for me to be able, as an 8th grade teacher, to talk to my 9th grade counterparts and find out, is anything missing? So a lot of it is, self-evaluation. All good teachers, it's just part of good practice where we're constantly revisiting what we do, why we do it, is it successful?
I guess in addition to that, Daryl, we're going to be faced with developing, or determining is a better word to use, 3 district-determined measures in our subject areas, our respective subject areas. One, if it's an MCAS subject, will be MCAS, soon to be PARCC. And PARCC will enhance the testing in grades 3 to 8. Those district-determined measures will be aligned with the core standards, so to speak, and that will give us terrific feedback in terms of how well our curriculum is aligned with the standards, and also how effective our instructional repertoire is when we apply the curriculum to the classroom learning environment.
If I could just add, on what makes a curriculum map, that was part of the introductory memo, and the shift that the superintendent and I reported to the school committee last year about the adoption of the Atlas curriculum platform was internally for staff to utilize. And it's a web-based program, and that does literally take us into the 21st century so that we have transparent maps available to the staff and the administrators without having to look for lost binders and paper and pen. So the process of mapping what the curriculum units are is much more effective now, and there's more sharing, more collaboration, and more accountability. The components of the map include drop-down menus for linking the aspects to the standards, 2 21st century skills, 2 AP standards, and then it has sections where you have essential questions, skills that are named in the frameworks, the activities and methods of differentiation. So now you have just to go to the Atlas platform, and each one of the curriculum coordinators, each one of the principals, each one of the members of the faculty can see those maps there. So those are the components.
And, well, just not to miss the other topics there, I'm very pleased with the breadth and the depth that's as we're increasing our math program there. I think that's great. I love math, so there. And then the other part, and I'll touch back on the English just a little bit because it ties in with the humanities and social studies. I read other teacher reactions, and as I do my general reading there, of the concern about shifting away from the literature to the primary source, factual type research in the English classes versus it being more holistically addressed across the programs. And it seems that we're sort of shifting a little bit away from the, more towards the primary source material.
Not necessarily. The emphasis isn't just really being put on the ELA department. Actually, a lot more is being placed on the science and history. Because they're being...
Maybe just talk a little bit about that?
Sure, because with the history...
Well, I just want to say that I think the students our students are already looking at primary sources. So it's more just like a little more conversation between the ELA and social studies department. But they're already doing, I think if we look at the Common Core, almost everything is, we are already doing almost all of it or a lot of it. So I think it's just a stronger focus maybe on how to read and write about the primary source. Like the Enlightenment assignment that I passed around, they had to use primary sources from the Constitution or Declaration that had primary source quotes in it. They were just picking it to support the thinker, so it wasn't, they weren't analyzing it really, but I think I know in the high school that they're already engaged in looking at primary sources. So I think the biggest thing is to just kind of have a conversation with the two departments and a common collaboration in terms of how we're going to instruct the students with primary sources and write about it, and how we're going to use those in our classes.
And that applies also for the science curriculum. The science curriculum, they've been directed to do more with literacy and with writing in their curriculum. As far as other sources, the high school, when we went through it, they already do a lot of critical nonfiction pieces about some of the literature that they're reading. So it does tie in nicely. At 6th, 7th, and 8th grade middle school, some of it is a little, little up in the atmosphere for them. But as we get into more complex reading skills, and as the students get into the high school English curriculum, they are expected to do critical reviews, read the criticisms, and then relate those to the reading. So it's not that onerous of a task for us. Like Ms. Morgan said, we're doing a lot of it already. Now it's just much more collaboration and sort of mandating it. But we are, I think, meeting most of the Common Core standards, if not all of them, right now.
Okay. No, thank you. That clarifies a lot for me. Thanks.
Mark, while you're up there, you mentioned that you're looking for materials for the incoming 6th grade class. What kind of materials are you looking for? Is it something that we can help out with?
I believe it's already taken care of. Dr. Branco, of course, he solicits input from the department, the curriculum coordinators for the building. There's not a lot of money, but we met as a team and said, okay, we've got a very small pool of money. Where do we need it to go? And we said, well, for this year, we need to make sure that the 6th grade has enough class sets for the literature for the incoming 6th grade. And then in the subsequent year, the next year it'll be for the 7th grade, and then the following year for the 8th. So I think we're in good shape.
I will say, just to jump onto Brian's opinion earlier about restoration of programs, I don't want some things to be missed, that in addition to Russell Street clubs coming back with the budget, the middle school budget had been cut by 50% last year, and with this current budget for next year, it's restored, and we would not have been able to have done the purchase and the support of those materials. So there is some stuff out there that needs to be recognized. We didn't necessarily bring positions back, but we brought monies back for other purposes, and so I wouldn't have been able to do that at the building level for next year had that money not been restored.
No, I just, there's a lot of kids coming in, as we know, and so I knew that was gonna resonate with some, so I just wanted to make sure we addressed it. I like it better when we go one at a time, Jerry, than just for the future. Now I'm distracted. He's kicking you. Beth, you mentioned note-taking. And you also mentioned professional development. Right. And I don't know if there's, one of the things that I see with my own kids is they don't take effective notes. And so if that's something you guys are working on, I'd be thrilled. And if there is any type of professional development, or if there's any type of courses that we can offer, like you do the SAT prep courses or anything like that, if there's some extracurricular stuff that we can put out there, I'm just mentioning it because you meant, I'm just bringing it up with you here, just because you mentioned it. But I think that is a vital skill to a student, is effective note-taking. And I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yeah. Your sons weren't that bad at taking notes. But I mean, it's definitely, we all talked about it, and it's just frustrating because I think it requires a little more focus than some of the students want to give. And I know some of the texts aren't, like the 8th grade text is a little challenging for some students. It's the 8th grade, 9th grade, it's the same book. And then there's the text, one of the U.S. history texts at the high school is old. And so it's just not, it's outdated, and we work with what we have and we do the best we can, and they're not just using a textbook, but it's also hard these days. The kids are very busy, and it takes a little extra thinking to put something into your own words. I mean, I see this all the time with the 8th graders. I want them to put it in their own words, and it's something that we have to work on all the time.
Yeah.
And I hear high school teachers say the same thing. You know, it just requires the extra thought that is tricky.
If any of you see anything that's out there that you think that we could get on board with, I mean, whether it's a superintendent or any one of us or anybody in the audience, if you say something.
Take notes during meetings.
I was going to say that Chuck threw the boys under the bus so he could get the notes.
Well done. What are you doing moving on? I'm still, look at all these notes I have. I took notes. So you distracted me again.
Well, good thing you took
One of the
notes.
things, see, it is a good thing, because I have to go down and figure out where I'm at. Another thing that I want to just compliment the department on is kids learn all different ways, and a lot of the folks in the department, I can speak specifically to sophomore honors, character role plays that are going on at the high school. I mean, the kids get it. You know, when they're tasked with embracing a character and being Abraham Lincoln or whatever it is, and debating, the kids get it. You know, it's different ways of learning instead of just reading the book and taking notes and having someone lecture to them. So the different adult learning methods and the different methods that you guys are using are fantastic. So, all right, Kelly.
Bring it on.
Actually, I'll do anything for you.
Right, go.
No, I love the idea that you're doing the math team and reaching out to your alumni, and if there's any other meets or things like that that you kids can get involved with, and if you need help from us to go out of state or something like that, like Bill Miskinnis does with the model. There is one coming up in Hawaii.
I think I can find one.
It's school committee representation.
Absolutely, you're welcome to come.
A few direct flights from
We'll have to
Boston.
work on that.
You still-
The other thing I love is the fact that there's tutors being used, people that are volunteering. I know that we use volunteers within town hall to work down on the tax and stuff. There might be other resources out there, so that's something we need to look at, to say, what other resources do we have in town? There might be people that were brilliant mathematicians at MIT or whatever that are living right, in the town. And let's tap those resources. So I don't know if there might be some way to work a benefit like we do with the tax work-off program. I'm calling it the wrong thing.
The senior tax work-off program.
That's what it's called?
Sounds like it.
Just go with it and say what's going to happen. Thanks, Alex. But I love those ideas. Last thing I'm going to mention is relative to tuition reimbursement. Beth, you mentioned the fact that we kind of switched that up and gave you guys an opportunity to use that for conferences. If there's any other ideas that you think of that we're not currently doing, that you say, geez, if we could do that, let us know that feedback as well, because we don't know any better. We're just a bunch of guys up here that care about the kids. So seriously, give us some feedback. If there's something like that that you think would help you to perform better, let us know.
I mean, it was huge. It's
That's great.
awesome.
It's good
Yeah,
feedback.
it's really great to be able to get those new ideas and I think a lot of us really appreciate that.
Good.
And putting them to good use.
That's excellent. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
No, I have some general comments I want to say for the end. Because I think that's the right way to do it.
Chloe, Ms. Morgan mentioned the high school history project. You had been instrumental in that. You want to add anything to that?
Oh, should I just talk about like how we did it? Yeah, okay. So I worked on that project with a senior this year, Clara Gaposhkin, and with Mr. Miskinnis and Miss Harvey, and we got to go through the Historical Society and like look at a ton of primary sources like you were talking about and read through old school committee reports and find all kinds
Those are
of
exciting.
Yeah. And so we got to go through and find things, and then we got to like put it all together in a display, and it kind of culminated in a public speaking type event where we just went through and talked about the process and all the different artifacts we found. And I think it was like a really valuable experience for us, and also a really valuable thing for the school to have for the future.
That's awesome.
Good time. Anybody who hasn't had the opportunity to go to the high school and see the display, please go ahead and do that. Chloe and the rest did a great job over there.
Thank you. Alex?
Yes, I just had a couple. Chuck sparked a lot of thoughts in me, so I wrote them down.
I have that effect on people, Alex.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if these thoughts are any good. Chuck was giving you a hard time about, he wants them one at a time. I think it's great that we're having them all at once because it shows that we're not operating in a vacuum. The note-taking skills that a student will learn in history will be just as valuable in math as they will in English, and not just in our core subject areas, but also I'm sure in the arts and foreign language and other areas as well. So I think as the idea behind Common Core is so that we all have that same, the same sort of 21st century skills that we want students to have across all states is the idea. I think we're doing that even just within our district. We're no longer operating in isolation, and we're really making sure that everything we're doing isn't just important for our own subjects, but also for other subjects. One note about a note about the note taking. Are we making sure that we're allowing students of different learning styles to make sure that they're actually taking notes effectively, but in a way that makes sense for them versus just one standard, giving them multiple options for how they want to do it?
I think so. I mean, I know that if you look at all of the 6 of us, there's different, 7 of us, like there's definitely different ways that we all ask the students to record information. I personally say, like if you need to draw a little picture to help you remember, I'm a big fan of that. But I think there's using a variety of ways to encourage them to take notes. And I know Miss Finnerty in her science classes uses a system, Cornell Notes. So sometimes I've used that, and some students I think they see. The idea, I think, sometimes is to think of what's going to work best for you. When you're not given a prescription, do you want to do an outline? Do you do more of a graphic organizer, Cornell Notes? There's all sorts. I mean, I think they're getting exposed to all sorts of different ideas. They may not realize that we're going to help them in the future, but I really think there's a variety. We're using a variety of methods.
To help them choose the best fit for them.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure they always have choice, but if they have a research project, they might, but in the classroom, at least at my level, I'm not saying, all right, decide how you want to take your own notes. I mean, that's something I could do later in the year, but I know that they just get, sometimes it's guided notes through a PowerPoint, sometimes it's the 2-column Cornell notes, sometimes it's an outline, sometimes it's just topics with bullets underneath and ideas that, headings that match what the textbook has or what a reading has, so it's just, there's all sorts. And then it gets more sophisticated as the students go through high school because they don't need the exact roadmap that I feel like the younger students need. They're a little more mature, a lot of them are more independent, mature learners, and
they know how they learn.
Hopefully,
Well,
yeah.
They're still learning.
Yeah,
They're further along their journey of learning how they learn.
Right, exactly.
And note-taking certainly is a very valuable tool in that journey, so I'm really glad that we're making a conscious effort to do that.
All right.
Terry Lynn?
Yeah, thank you. We'll
Thank
switch
you.
to the next two academic subjects, Dr. Finnerty with science, and then we'll have more language, and then we'll have a question session, and then the 2 8 subjects.
Best for last.
So I've been very pleased to have the honor of having served as the curriculum coordinator for such an outstanding science department this year. It's been a nice learning experience for me to get to know the science department at the high school better. One of the main things we've worked on this year is linking what we are doing in our classes to the Common Core standards for ELA, for science. Mark Levine had alluded to that. There are a set of standards, ELA standards, that are applied to both science and history and social sciences. And we had to look at what we do already, look at the standards, and either tweak or expand or just identify what we've been doing. And for the most part, we already do a lot of those things, but we had to kind of tag them, I guess. At the middle school, our emphasis has always been on hands-on processes. We have young learners. A lot of kids that age really learn best through hands-on activities. It makes science more exciting. It makes it more authentic. And so we are very proud to, we kind of looked at what we did and realized that we actually, at each grade level at the middle school, we have kids do 2 to 3 hands-on science activities per week. They include things such as dissecting beef bones, observing insects, building and testing bridges out of spaghetti. I actually brought some pictures of those. So these are built of dry spaghetti and hot glue. Some of them hold up to 20 pounds. They're actually much stronger than I thought they would be. And that's part of the engineering process. I also was lucky when I attended a MAST conference, that's the Massachusetts Association of Science Teachers, a couple years ago. I won a set of Legos that I used to model chemical reactions. And I got an extension pack this year, and I've been using them a lot to show the kids how chemical reactions occur and to look at balancing equations and things like that to help them get ready for high school science. We also, in the 8th grade, we sifted through matrix from around a mastodon that was discovered in upstate New York to look for evidence for what the environment around the mastodon was like 11,000 years ago. And at the 6th grade level, the 6th grade science teacher, Helen Boland, she has just put in 7 raised beds with the idea that she's going to have a authentic learning center, a real-life study site for the kids to use. I'm kind of thinking maybe I want to get in on that too a little bit because it really can be used for a lot of different science topics. She's looking at her ecology and geology in particular, plant science at the 7th grade level. I'll figure out something genetics at the 8th grade level. I think I can get in on that. Volunteers helped with that. There were parents, teachers, community members. The Littleton Conservation Trust gave, I think it was $500 to help with that. Agway gave us a discount, and the PTA has also offered to help to support this. There's already plants planted, so that she's ready to use it starting in the fall. I think she's using it now. Kids are involved in it now. We had another very successful science fair open house in April. So this was the 8th annual science fair. The majority of the 7th and 8th grade students attended, even though it was the Thursday before vacation. We have hundreds of attendees. Every year it's more and more busy and crowded in there. It's overwhelming. I really believe that the science fair helps kids to take part in an authentic science experience. And also, it happens to link to a lot of the Common Core standards, so presenting and writing about science and reading about science. So the Common Core standards for ELA for science have kids learn science through reading and writing about science. We also sent 10 projects from the middle school to the Regional Science Fair in Lowell at the beginning of May, and 6 of the 10 projects won ribbons. We always do very well. We're kind of known, Littleton's known for doing well at the regional fair. And so all 6 of those projects will be moving on to the Massachusetts State Science Fair. And I have to say, too, that all 5 of the 8th grade projects won a place. And that State Science Fair is on June 1st. I also noticed, being a Littleton resident, and I was reading the Littleton Independent, that one of our current 9th graders was quoted in an article about the career fair, which I thought was great. But she said that her science fair project at the middle school in the 8th grade was one thing that helped her with her career aspirations. So she wants to be an audiologist. So I thought that was kind of cool. Something I've been doing for the last few years is, before I even knew about the Common Core standards, is having my students take part in the Massachusetts State Science Poetry Contest. It's run by Boston College. It's just for fun. And it's the kids can write about any science topic that they wish to write about. And I'm allowed to send 35 entries, which is nice. And we've had a few winners every year. So this year we had a first place winner. I included her poem in the handout. I think it was part of that. And then I wrote a whole bunch of notes while everyone else was presenting, because there's all these things that I forgot about. I wanted to say that Beth Stevenson and I presented at the Massachusetts State Association of Science Teachers Conference in the fall on science fairs. We had a full house, standing room only, and someone approached me at the NELMS conference and said, "Didn't you present at the Mass conference on science fairs?" And I said, "Yes, that was me." And he said, "This was great. We started a science fair at our school." So he was very excited, and he's using my packet, and he asked if he could email me and ask me for more advice, so that was good. So for next year, looking ahead, the middle school is looking forward to reviewing and analyzing and updating our LMS science curriculum. We really appreciate the opportunity to align our curriculum and materials with advances in technology and with the new standards. So the next generation science standards were mentioned. At this point, they are not adopted in Massachusetts yet, but it's just a matter of time. I'm looking forward to finding out how they're going to be adopted and adapted for our state, and how it's going to change the state testing. Also at the middle school, we've been looking at increasing the use of technology in the science department. Once we realized that there were iPads available, not just for the history department, we have been eyeing them. So I actually attended the NELMS conference, thanks to Mr. Branco, a few weeks ago, and found out about using iPads in a science classroom, and I've been experimenting with them recently. And it's been very successful. The kids enjoy it. I've had them posting on Edmodo that Ms. Morgan alluded to. It looks like a Facebook, but it's totally contained so that the only people who can see the posts are the kids in the classroom and me. So it's not available to anybody outside of that group. And so I have them post the results of their experiments, and I put up discussion topics, and I could put assignments up there and share resources. And then in the 7th grade, Beth Stevenson has been having the kids use a digital camera with the nature journal she's been doing for years. Instead of just drawing, she's added the digital photos as part of the process. Then at the high school, something that I added in here that I had forgotten to add is that we had a young group participate in the Science Bowl this year. They didn't win anything, but most of them were freshmen. And so if this group continues to attend, they'll do better and better each year. And so that was great to have the kids participate in that. Our staff at the high school are very involved in professional development. Dr. Hogan, the physics teacher, took a lot of extensive professional development last summer and through the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and he implemented 27 new physics labs in all of his physics courses. And if you're a science teacher, that's a lot. That's a huge change to implement 27 new labs. It's a lot of work. So kudos to him. And the purpose is to introduce kids to concepts through hands-on activities rather than reading about it first. Although he did tell me that he needed me to adjust this, because as he's been implementing this, he has to adapt it based on the needs of his particular class. He noted that some of the honors classes, they're better at implementing it through hands-on and then going to the reading, but he felt that some of the CP classes benefited from reading first and then connecting with the lab. So he's playing it by ear with each group of kids. The chemistry curriculum has been updated not only at the honors level, where he's updated it to include nuclear chemistry, which would be much more modern chemistry than what all of us studied probably back in the old days, or some of us at least. And he also is adding AP chemistry, which is very exciting to me, both as a science teacher and as a parent of a high school student, because now we have AP biology, AP physics, and AP chemistry, so it's like the triumvirate. And we offer a lot of AP courses for a very small high school, and I think that's fantastic. We also have AP psychology, that includes neurobiology. It's taught by Cheryl Harrington, our biology teacher, one of our biology teachers. And then Dr. Canali also took a lot of professional development last summer and added open-ended projects to his engineering courses, which will align very well with the new generation science standards, which will place process and engineering procedures on equal footing with content. And that's a very big shift and an important shift, I think, as a science educator, because it tells educators and students that how you do science is just as important as the content of science. And that's important because science is always changing, and we need to learn how to learn, and how do we discover things, not just learning the facts, because that's not what science is all about. It's about applying it and solving problems. So that's a great step, and that will put him right in place to align with the new generation standards. So going back to AP, as you probably know, we made the AP honor roll again this year, and I have to say that I'm sure that a lot of that is due to our strong science department. So we make the AP honor roll because we not only increase students' participation in AP courses, but we also increase the percentage of students who earn a 3 or better. So we're raising the number and raising and keeping the scores high. And I thought I had to look this up, not being a high school teacher, but only 367 school districts in the entire country earn that distinction. So that's awesome, and I'm glad that my kids go there. So, also, kudos to our science department that Jan Nolan, the guidance counselor at the high school, told me that 37 of the 95 graduating seniors are planning to major in science or engineering this year. It's 38.9%. That's huge. And I think that that really is a credit to our entire district, that we've gotten kids up through the system who are inspired by science and interested in science and know they can do science. And that's all three of those things together make somebody who wants to be a scientist or an engineer. And then along those lines, some of the teachers have heard back from alumni who have reported great success as science majors as they've gone on to school, and engineering majors. And Dr. Canali had mentioned the SolidWorks curriculum, which is a CAD program that allows them to model in 3 dimensions. And so a lot of the kids got certificates, or a few of them got certificates through his courses, went on to college, and were asked to help teach other kids at their colleges. So to end, I just say I'm looking forward to working with 6 to 12 as we implement the Common Core for mathematics, and also the new science standards as they come through. I'm really curious to find out what's going to be happening in Massachusetts and how quickly it's going to be changed.
Elizabeth Kelly, our world language coordinator.
Hi, I'm Liz Kelly, and thank you for having us here tonight. This is a different way of doing this, and I'm actually really enjoying this because we used to come and give our presentation alone, and so we didn't know what everybody else was doing. So this has been really inspiring to see what all the other departments are doing. And I was jotting down things. Oh, we do that, and oh yeah, this, and yeah. It's just been really fun to hear all the great things that all the departments are doing. And I have some student recognition tonight. I'm the Latin teacher, by the way, at the high school, and the world languages curriculum coordinator. So our national exam results this year, we had some good ones. Our Spanish students took the national Spanish exam for the first time, I think maybe in about 5 years. And we had 8 students who received gold, which is a 95th percentile or better. 22 students received silver, which is the 85th percentile or better. And I do believe that one of those, I think, was at the 99th percentile, so almost a perfect score. On our National Latin exam, we've continued to have good success there. We did have this year a perfect score in 8th grade Latin 1, James McDonough, so I wanted to recognize him. We had, and I'm not sure, am I saying his name right?
Yes.
Okay, because I don't have him. We also earned 7 gold medals, 11 silver medals, and a variety of other awards too, like the Spanish exam. Another, I guess, improvement was our AP Spanish scores in 2012. We had last year 5 of the 8 students received a 5 on the exam, so that's a nice score there too, and that was and they all passed as well. So that was another bonus to our AP Spanish teacher, Margot Price. We've had, like I said, lots of things that we've been busy. Holy Cross Classics Day this year, our Latin students attended in April, and we won Best Looking Chariot, which we've won twice now. But perhaps more importantly, our lower level Curtamen team placed 2nd overall against a very, very strong school from Advanced Math and Science Academy. So we really, we held our own, and that was fun. We entered the National Junior Classical League Creative Writing Contest this year, and we had a student, Alma Himmelberger, who earned 8th place in the country for her essay. We had 5 students choose to participate in the National Classical Etymology exam, and 4 of those 5 students earned either silver or bronze medals. So lots of success. Our department vision was really the focus of this year. Over the last 2 years, we've been working very hard on aligning our curricula 6 through 12, specifically as we've implemented a new world language, or tidied up some of the stuff in the middle school, where we had our new world language exploratory in the 6th grade, and then the 7th and 8th grade courses were better aligned with the level 1 at the high school, so that we have at this point 7th plus 8th grade in French, Spanish, and now Latin as well equals level 1 at the high school. So we've been working on that for a couple of years, and we did continue to work on it this year, but we paused a little bit in order to enter the data with Atlas, the curriculum maps, and kind of stop and make sure we have all the material before we go back and reassess. And as we're looking at that, we are seeing growth in our department. So I really want to let you all know about that. Because we've added Latin to the 7th and 8th grade now, we're looking at the growth of the Latin program. We're also seeing a revitalization again with our French, our new French teacher this year, Janine Allison, and I think Chloe can speak a little bit to that. Yeah,
Great.
just thumbs up.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we're all invigorated by her. We have now the full implementation, like I said, of the 7th plus 8th grade equaling level 1 at the high school. And one of the things we've created is a flow chart to better show parents and students what that looks like. And that was in the documentation as far as parents at the end of 6th grade and students as well have to make a choice about what language they're going to take. And one of the unique things about our department is that we have students choosing after 6th grade perhaps the path that they'll follow until 12th grade. And so it's a big decision, and there are a lot of questions concerning that, specifically what languages will be available at the top levels. When we have students who are academically motivated and want to take the most rigorous courses and become proficient in a language, they are looking ahead to that upper level in 12th grade. So we had a meeting this winter with all of the administration, 6 through 12, and Kelly Clenchy and Jerry Lynn as well, and we sat down and talked about some of the issues that come up with that and the concerns and planning for the future and looking at what are the enrollment trends. And that was a great meeting because that is something we really need to refine in our department, is what that vision is, the issues of depth versus breadth, and how we're going to best serve the students in Littleton in our small district, and we have these 3 strong languages at the moment. We also have, as you know, we're doing exploratory with Mandarin at the moment, and I haven't really mentioned that just because it's exploratory at the moment and sort of outside the box right now. But those are some of the things we've been working on. I did a little bit of analysis, and I looked at our enrollments for this year, and we're growing even from this year to next. We have 304 students currently enrolled in foreign language. 26 of the 304 are actually double enrollments, so we have, that's counting the 26 twice. So we have quite a few students who are doing double foreign language, which we're really pleased about. And next year, our enrollments for next year are actually at 371. So this year we had 89% of our students taking foreign language, and that's not counting the double enrollments. So that's 89% of the population at Littleton High School. So again, we're really pleased. We're really trying to improve the accessibility of the languages, but also the rigor, and I think we're being successful in both those ways. We looked at students who are studying language in college next year. We have 5, and 3 of those are, at least 3 of them are major minors. I know that sometimes students change as well as time goes on. And we have a lot of good feedback from our students who go out that they're very well prepared for language courses in college. We also are having fun with technology. One of the things that we do at our professional development time is we're often sharing, whether informally or formally, sharing technological tools that we're using. Different teachers do different things. We have smart boards, we have the iPads and the projectors, and we use Edmodo as well, a lot of it for communication with students who are out. The homework is posted there on a nightly basis. And we're hoping to continue those initiatives, like I said, aligning the curricula and then also working on technology. We also had a couple of successful LEF grants this year. We had somebody for the Latin program. We had Doug Ryan of Historia Antiqua, he's a retired Latin teacher from Hingham High School, and he came and delivered 2 double period presentations on the Roman army using a multimedia presentation. It was really a lot of fun. He had videos he did a lecture, he had models of siege machines, and the best part, of course, was the military garb, and some of the students got to dress up as Roman soldiers. We also put forth and got an LEF grant for Spanish novels as a supplement to the textbook and the AP classes, and also something called Notes in Spanish, which is an online authentic resource of culturally focused podcast, and that's used in all levels of Spanish. So there's another example of technology that we're using. Our World Language Festival this March raised over $2,000. This is something we do every 2 years, and the goal of this is to raise money, as well as raise awareness, but to raise money for our foreign language book bag scholarship, and we were able to award that to a deserving senior this year in the amount of $1,500, so we were really happy to be able to share that. Our World Language Festival is quite an event. Students participated from all the languages, and some of you may have been there. The community comes out, and it's not just the school community, but other community members come as well. We have ethnic cafes, there are performances of world music. We had some characters, speaking of characters, we had some character portrayals where students could pick someone from another culture or history and had to be in character for the entire night. They did a great job. As well as students who wanted to do a more traditional project could do a travel poster advertising of one of the foreign countries. Speaking of travel, we like to travel. I went to Italy again this April and had a great trip. I brought 9 students with me. Last summer we had 2 trips, a trip to Spain led by Beth Powers and one to Costa Rica by Margot Price. And Beth Powers is planning another trip for 2014, and I'm looking at another trip in April of 2015, maybe Italy and Greece. So we're keeping busy as well, and like I said, it's been really fun to listen to everybody else's presentations tonight, and look forward to speaking with you some more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol, questions?
No.
Actually, you were mentioning the raised beds that Helen had put in, and one of the things that I've been thinking about and meaning to talk to you about is composting. Yeah, so that's, I've got a couple contacts at Acton Blacksburg Regional High School. I know that they had some folks that donated time and materials and helped them build the boxes for the composting of all the cafeteria materials. So I'd love to
That would be
work with
great, yeah.
you, Helen, whoever.
I run a community service group after school, Roots and Shoots, that Chloe was a part of during middle school. And composting was one of the ideas we had, and we tried to get it going in the cafeteria, and it really is a big project for kids to manage. But now that we have the raised beds, and we also have a bird and butterfly garden that the Roots and Shoots group has been putting in over the years, it's grown by inches over the years. We just put a bench out. But composting was one of our goals. So I think one of the things that was stymieing us was the bin and building the structure, and also thinking about controlling what goes in it. When you have 11 to 14-year-olds, all kinds of stuff can go in it. So yeah, I'd love to talk to you about it. And Helen Boland and I have looked at, there's a composting and education website that has a lot of information about studying compost bins and compost communities, because there's all kinds of creatures that live in there, and it's a whole ecosystem.
Sure.
So it's really interesting. So
Reach out to me for sure, and I'd love to help out with that. It'd be a great experience for kids. You guys just did a comprehensive job. See, going last isn't necessarily not last. Close to.
All our questions are, we're running out of questions as we move along.
That's fine.
Can I just add something about, and it's nice to see the two of you up there. Our Roots and Shoots is now at the high school with the world language teacher as the
Margot Price.
Margot Price. But the important thing, what Liz said, I just want to add to that, because Liz talked about incredible surge in enrollment, almost unanticipated. We have so much interest. We're looking at course requests now and scheduling for next year among our students in world language. It's a credit to the department and also to the motivation of our kids to have a real rigorous transcript as they prepare to apply to college. But we're going to have to prepare for this as administrators and as a school committee, this strong interest in language. We had, Brian had talked about a reduction of restorations and where we're at. When we went through that difficult budget process, this is just a file away for a future meeting perhaps, we reduced world language by 0.4. We're really feeling that now. We're trying to figure out creative ways to deal with it in the upcoming year, but I just want to alert your attention to that, because it's good news. It's a compliment to the department that we have this surge in interest, but we're really feeling the pinch now because we had to trim thoughtfully a couple of years ago and come up with creative ways to reduce the budget, minimizing impact. So we took 0.4 out of the world language part. I just want to throw it out there so that everyone can be aware of it. I know the superintendent's aware of it. We've talked about it. Liz is definitely aware of it. So, but just something for you to know.
It's good to know.
Just a comment. I don't think it's a surprise.
No.
It was a hope when we restructured our middle school program. We knew the time was coming. It's just happening quicker than we had planned, which is a celebration. And as we move forward, we will most definitely plan for the success that we've had in terms of increasing the number of students with dual languages prior to graduation.
So I actually wanted to touch on the extracurriculars and the science a bit, and then you sort of took that away from me a little bit. But I know that a lot of students who don't initially engage in science tend to do really well with the extracurriculars. They'll come in. I know a lot for the engineering club that really brings students in who oftentimes are not the the top students in science, who never really felt compelled to try science. And I've seen how these students can really excel, become engaged in the extracurricular activity, and then transfer that to the classroom, and not just to the science classroom, but suddenly they were really excited about school, about going to science, and that translates to the other subjects as well. To go back to the point about, departments not operating in isolation, having the extracurriculars reach out to students who oftentimes aren't doing so well really helps every department, not just whichever department is most affiliated with the extracurriculars. Which brings me to one question, and maybe this is a little of a high hope. But at the high school we have the green room, the greenhouse rather, the green room, the greenhouse. It's a little bigger than a room, I guess. I guess it's a house. Is that being used for extracurriculars, or is there any, as we look forward a couple year or two, is there any way that could be used? I know that it was used a couple of years ago, but I think that was more of on a case-by-case basis.
I have to confess, I actually don't know.
I can go
Okay.
with
Yeah.
that briefly.
Okay.
Just, yes, and we'd like to do more with it. We're talking to the garden club in town.
Oh,
We just
excellent.
had them in actually speak to our student body for a special assembly, which is kind of neat. The local garden club came and talked to them and gave out all kinds of seeds and things like that. And they were just, the kids just went down and swooped them up.
Mhm.
So I was really shocked by how much interest there was from the whole student body. It was actually quite impressive. There is a Littleton resident who's married to one of our faculty members who's actually in the greenhouse regularly,
Mhm.
once a week, using it, and he's got all kinds of special projects that he's working on in there, and he's been doing that for some time.
Mhm.
So that community access is connected to the schools there. We'd like to do more with it, though.
Excellent. I think it's a great resource that we have that's being used, that could be used, even more to engage the community and engage students in, in biology and in other plant science. Shifting to foreign language, with the restructuring at the middle school, it's excellent that we can now offer Latin 1 sort of 7th and 8th grade, so students can go right in and take the steps they need to move forward on their rigorous foreign language program. What does the 6th grade exploratory course look like? Is that sort of dipping their toes into the water of each of 3 languages?
Yep, absolutely. With the trimester system at the middle school, it works out perfectly where each of the students in 6th grade is exposed to French, Spanish, and Latin each for 1 trimester.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, and that was developed by all 3 middle school teachers with professional development over the last couple of years, and we're still working it out. It's in the 2nd full year of implementation this year, and we're still tweaking the model, and watching enrollment there, because of course the issue with the language can be staffing and how when you have someone who can only teach Latin or only teach French or Spanish, or how that plays out. So it's a little bit tricky sometimes, but we've been very flexible and working on that with Mark Branco.
I think that's excellent.
One of the struggles we've had is to maintain, we're seeing the uptick back. We didn't have a French enrollment last year. Now we have a soft enrollment coming in, and we'll have our hard numbers within a week or two. What we don't want to have to do at the middle school, it's respectfully a little easier for high schools to run sections with smaller and larger numbers sometimes. But because of our team model at the middle school, that becomes problematic when you have a small section of 10 or 12 kids, because you've got to put all the other kids somewhere concurrent. And so that usually unintentionally equals large numbers on the other side. So we're trying to overcome that somehow, or at least discuss with the faculty, particularly in the 7th grade, the importance of letting kids who want to take French, so that we run those sections, even if there are only 15 kids in there. But we can't do that to detriment to class size on the other side either. So there's a balancing act to be had for sure at the middle school.
Right, and especially with scheduling, you find one pro, you find another con on the other side. I actually did want to touch on staffing. So the staffing at the middle school is still a team, so the foreign language, there will be a 7th grade foreign language.
They kind of do a hybrid
They're off
model.
team now.
Yeah, they're off team in many ways, but there's a 7th grade teacher who is off team to teach the 6th grade course, and an 8th grade teacher who is off team to teach the 6th grade course, and then the Latin teacher teaches 7th and 8th grade Latin, and then the 6th grade course. So they have a lot going on, but they've been very flexible and very amenable to working in that way. Yeah.
Excellent. And how's that, going so far? Is that a good model?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
excellent so far.
It seems to make more sense, and it allows the parents to make an informed choice. Like I said, the real issue is just that it becomes for students and parents looking ahead and trying to see what we will be offering later, and sometimes that can be sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy of, will this be there? And if it's not, then we shouldn't sign up for it. So there's some hesitation there, and that's why I think, like I said, it can be an issue with staffing, trying to decide where to allocate staffing because of that.
And I promise my last question for this section. 89% of students at the high school taking a foreign language is just remarkable.
Yep.
I mean, that's incredible. And as we move forward, I'm wondering, looking more long-term, is there going to be a shift towards a focus on fluency and on language fluency in some of the languages, depending on how far the students want to go? They don't take it 4 years, so that could be an impact. And then bringing the Mandarin into that, how's the and into the enrollment, how's the Mandarin enrollment? And maybe this is a better question for the end of the year or next year. How's that course working out?
Yeah, well, as I said before, the Mandarin I didn't really touch upon too much because I'm not really part of that initiative at the moment. I'm aware of it and involved in it, but...
Superintendent question.
There you go.
We're running a pilot project, and like any pilot project, something new to a school, we decided to go with a pilot project because nationally Mandarin is becoming a very common language that's offered in high schools. We want to be a 21st century school, and we want to be leading, not following. So we've only had a semester of it, and it's pretty hard to evaluate its success at this point in time. Our intention is to run a semester next year, and again, reevaluate it at the end of the semester and see where we're at.
Great.
Again, we would like to obviously do more, but there are limitations. There are limitations no matter what size district you are or school you are, and what we have to do is put all those pieces of the puzzle together, and then assess what our students need to be successful, to be college and career ready. And that's the driver of what we do, actually pre-K through 12. So we're celebrating a lot of things right now, and we're also repositioning ourselves to ensure that our students have those skill sets to be successful as they continue their journey.
And is fluency part of the long-term goal?
Well, fluency is an interesting word. Having grown up in a Western culture, I took French from grade 3 to 11. 3 times a week, 40 minutes a week. Perhaps high school was a little different. It was mandatory. Time and fluency go hand in hand. And some of our students will in fact become fluent. But fluency to the end of the continuum, to the top continuum, usually occurs in immersion schools, not in schools that offer it as I hate using the word electives, but as other subject areas.
And as late as we do, really.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
As students get older, it's
I mean,
harder.
We're lucky
Yeah.
in some ways that we offer it, that we start in 6th grade when we compare to surrounding towns, but that when you become, to reach true proficiency or fluency, you really have to have that immersion model at a young age. I mean, all the studies show that learning languages is best done at younger ages when the brain is, you can help me here, when the connections are still more flexible and not set, and that, by the time we start in middle school, actually, it's, technically it's too late, but, no.
You can do as much as you
Yeah.
can, but, you have the restraints of the age of starting, at 6th grade.
I'd say at the AP level, many of those students are on their way to being fluent, or, and they're certainly proficient at different modes of communication. But again, the ultimate goal would be to go and live in a culture and test it out, and it's sink or swim at that point. I mean,
That's when you know.
that's when you do it. That's when you learn.
I think the other thing in regard to that, too, I'd make 2 comments, is specific to the foreign languages. I don't think in any subject in the secondary school systems that we're actually going to achieve expertise or fluency, or whatever measure you're going to use. But when I hear stories about that the students from Littleton go out and try to achieve fluency or expertise, they feel like they're prepared and they're moving right along. They're not caught behind the curve, and in many instances they're actually ahead of the curve. So I feel like we're positioned ourselves correctly relative to what we're trying to do to get them to the next level into a 21st century type of experience. And the other thing to keep in mind is that even if we wanted to try to offer 7 foreign languages, as many students as we have taking foreign languages, we don't have enough students to carry 7 foreign languages unless we have enough money where we're going to have 6 or 8 kids in a classroom at times, which would be a tremendous luxury and a wonderful opportunity that we're probably not going to realize. We just don't have critical mass here in Littleton that other districts would have to be able to offer more courses because they have more bodies to put in the seats.
One thing that hasn't been mentioned are the VHS courses that are available at the middle school and the high school. So I know that is a way for our small community to offer courses for students who don't have that offered at the school.
And that's a great point, too.
I don't know if I think there's languages,
Yes.
and there's
Yes,
science.
Actually, Chloe can speak on that.
Yeah, the languages there aren't as many offerings in language, and some don't exist. So but yeah, did
But
you
it's
have
a
an
start.
experience with that?
Oh, I took German this semester. It requires a lot, I think, to like actually do well in it. Like, just a lot of internal motivation that I just maybe don't have. Like with my other courses and stuff. But
greenhouse.
yeah, no, it's a really good resource. You just have to.
I think I've heard anecdotally that there's a lot available in other subjects, but I can only speak to the Welsh.
Thank you.
Excellent. The additional offerings, get more kids into it. You're absolutely right. 89% is a fantastic number. I've lived around the world over many years. Having a language skill has certainly been helpful. Introducing an East Asian language is helpful. Certainly the European languages. Just right here in the United States, Spanish can come in extraordinarily helpful. So well done there. And I think John hit on it. You all must be encouraging them some way, somehow. So that's good. Thank you. To the STEM, and we're seeing the increase in the number of science and technology, at least professed majors, to almost 39% for this upcoming year for the graduating class of 13 is extraordinary. And one of the biggest things we know about STEM is non-exposure. We usually don't get STEM graduates. We expose them, we do. Over the last 6 or so years, we've seen that increase in the schools to exposure of the increased math offerings, the engineering offerings, the physics. So across the entire science math area, you guys are doing a wonderful job. We had a star-based presentation, the Department of Defense initiative that goes on at Hanscom and many other Air Force bases around the country, actually DOD bases around the country. Introduce them at the 5th grade, because our understanding is get them young, and they can begin to understand it and inspire that passion. So by the time you get them into the middle school and the high school, they're ready to go. So really, thanks a bunch. Everything's good. We're going to talk about history later, but well done, thank you. And congratulations again, Doctor.
12 years. I'm done. Thank you. Health and wellness?
May I just one sec? Would anybody like a 5-minute break?
Yes, please.
Okay, take a motion that we recess for 5.
Motion for a 5-minute recess?
Second. Second. In favor? Aye. 5 minutes, and we'll make it 5.5, so back at 25, please.
I was red.
Don't worry, it's tied. 19-12. Say that.
We with it now.
Give him the outcome.
I was dying.
Just right in.
You and Steve were all red.
Reconvening, folks, thanks very much.
Good evening, everyone.
It's all yours.
I am Meredith Perry. I am the K-12 curriculum coordinator for health and physical education. I like to throw that in there. It's not just 6 to 12. I have the entire district. It's about the same amount of people, but it just sounds a lot cooler. We are trying really hard to get the kids to be active in not just the amount of time that we see them. So in our Russell Street and Shaker Lane programs, Kathy Hibbard does an amazing job with the students. And it's such a fun age group with the phys ed. I'm going to start with phys ed first. Phys ed is obviously so much fun for the elementary ages, and Kathy does an amazing job with them. This year, she actually initiated a program, the Fuel Up to 60 program, and it allowed her to have 60 minutes extra time with the kids after school as an extracurricular activity. And she also combined that with the fitness club, which also gave more time for them to be active. Within the fitness club, it also had a little bit of a nutrition component as well, because as I'll talk about that later. She also helped organize the Race for Education, which was held at Shaker Lane, and from what I understand, it was a huge success. At the middle school, Greg Gillette does an amazing job with his program. What's very fantastic, I think, my entire department gets every student. So Kathy sees every student that goes through the Shaker Lane and Russell Street. Greg gets every student at the middle school. Tricia Bonacore at the health gets every student. I get every student at the high school. So with that, it's really impressive that in my whole department, we talk back and forth about the different students. And I feel a little out of it because I haven't been there as long as everyone else has, but they say these names. I'm like, I'll get to them. So that's really awesome that we can say that. So Greg has intramural sports 2 days a week. He does a really great job with that. He also has the Hoops for Heart, just another way for students to become active outside of the school day. He also helps with the Best Buddies program, which Tricia runs at the middle school, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Obviously, the Relay for Life, and he does an amazing job with the volleyball, the PTA fundraiser, the faculty volleyball game. At the high school, Mike Lynn and I work together very closely, and we're actually kind of maximizing the space that we do have at the high school. It's an amazing facility that we have at the high school with the fitness room that we have. And we have, obviously, the gymnasium, and then we have 2 other rooms, and we're really trying to use them to their absolute maximum capacity. We are trying to have a circuit kind of train more for the females. We noticed that we do have an intramural program where they open up the fitness room after school, and it's mostly boys. And so we're trying to get an initiative to get more girls to be active. And that's kind of where we're all going, is that we want to be active for life. And so Mike and I have actually been in talks about kind of changing our phys ed curriculum. Right now we have the fitness and conditioning and sports and games as our 2 options. And we're definitely going to keep the fitness and conditioning. It's a very solid program, and we're very proud of that course. But our sports and games, trying to motivate the students in an activity that they don't enjoy is not fun for anybody. So I really want them to understand that being active is our goal. It doesn't have to be lacrosse. It doesn't have to be a sport. I do understand that people like sports, me being one of them. I will not mention the Bruins game tonight at all. So I enjoy sports, but I do understand that not everybody does. Currently, Mike Lynn's classes are full. Completely full. He's got 35 kids in every class. And it's because the lean is more towards becoming active for life. So it's something that we need to kind of think about, is kind of changing the program around. And Mike and I are doing some really great thoughts with that, and we're looking into Project Adventure and things like that. So I'm really excited about moving forward with our not so traditional PE program. In the health area, currently, we do not have a formal health education in our elementary schools. There is nothing to my knowledge. In my hopes that we have life skills that are being taught throughout, clearly, but nothing formal. At the middle school, as I said, Tricia Bonacore is an amazing teacher. Her middle school program is fantastic. When I get the freshmen at the high school, the knowledge is so amazing, and we are able to do so much more because they have that solid foundation. It's absolutely wonderful. And Tricia and I have been working closely to try to keep that continuity going with our programs. Tricia does an amazing job with the health club after school. She really brings the community involved in all of her volunteer activities. Mix It Up Day, which is actually done at school, where they can't sit in the same table at lunch. They do the Red Ribbon campaign, spread the word to end the word. We all know that retarded has become a negative word, and so that's kind of, they're spreading the word to end that word. Amazing job. We also did it at the high school. They also have a program, the Best Buddies program, which we're hoping to bring to the high school next year. It's with Case Collaborative, which is currently at the middle school, and it's moving to the high school next year. So we're hoping that students will take the initiative to have lunch with the Case Collaborative students to kind of bring that connection together. So we're hoping to bring that up. The Signs of Suicide program was, again, administered at the middle school as well as the high school this year. The Strike 2 program, Tricia and Pablo Fernandez, our school resource officer, teamed together to meet with inmates. The 8th graders were able to talk with inmates, and it was a really powerful presentation. And we're hoping to continue it, follow up with it, do something with that at the high school as well. As always, we have the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. And we are continuing to utilize that, which brings me to the Wellness Day that, changing hats, the Wellness Committee Chair. We are planning a Wellness Day at the middle school for the 7th and 8th graders, where we took the information from the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, found that middle schoolers were under an immense amount of stress, and we're trying to now educate them on how to alleviate their stress, how to I don't want to say avoid stress, but how to manage their stress. We need to teach them that sometimes you can't avoid stress, but it's the way you manage it that is going to be helpful. So we're in the works of that. We actually have a meeting next week. Back to my curriculum coordinator hat. At the high school, as I had mentioned, we're looking to restructure our physical education portion to kind of benefit the students better. What are our goals? What do we want to see them? And realistically, we want them to be active for life. Again, with the Signs of Suicide program, this year we actually, thanks to the See a New Sun Foundation, they purchased the booster kit, the booster program for the seniors. So it piggybacks on the freshman program. So we screen the freshmen in the fall, and then we also screen the seniors in the spring. And we used a different program this year, and it seemed to be successful. In the fall, LEF and the police union have graciously donated money so that we can have Chris Herron present to the high school students. It's going to be during the day. I'm so excited for this. It'll be during the day, October 18th. At 12:30, the entire school in assembly, and he talks about substance abuse. He's a former Celtics basketball player, and it's something that we're in need at the high school, so that's very exciting. We took some girls to the Empowering Girls Conference by the Middlesex Youth Partnership, and then Chloe attended with me, as well as, Chloe is just Littleton strong, right? So that was very interesting for us to go to. It was nice to see how well our Littleton girls represented in the audience. It was really nice to see. We just went to a distracted driving summit last Thursday. I went with 4 students. It was very touching. The program that they had was wonderful, and it really hit home to a couple of the students that came with me. Just say, it can wait kind of the campaign. Don't text and drive. Don't be distracted. And so that was really powerful. And it has now turned into, hopefully next year, a senior is going to do a senior project to bring back the Students Against Destructive Decisions. That's going to be her senior project, to kind of bring that back. And in June, we're going to work and try to have the 4 students who came with me to present to the school to talk a little bit about, don't text and drive, it can wait, and kind of add on to that campaign. Again, we do the youth risk behavior survey at the high school, and something that we're working to with our professional development on this Wednesday is that we're going to certify the staff in CPR, and then our goal is to certify the freshmen and the juniors in the fall, and then we'll be able to do that every year. Will always be the freshmen and the juniors, and so in a couple years the entire school will be certified in CPR. And I've been working closely with the administration as well as Chief Wazinski, and we're trying to organize that. A couple of the teachers have showed interest in becoming instructors, so that would be something that if we can get those teachers to become instructors, that they would then can instruct the students, so we can keep this kind of internal, and it would be a great benefit to have so many people certified in CPR. I think that's all I have for you.
Thank you. Do you have an update on the score there?
I'm sorry?
Do you have the score?
My phone's over there. My husband didn't text me.
3-3.
3-3.
Still 3-3?
It's overtime.
It's overtime.
Sorry.
It's not going to take long, it's just, there's no controversy on it.
Hillary Bridge, our art, music, K-12 coordinator.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us here. I am Hillary Bridge. I teach district-wide band as well as general music at the middle school. And I am the K-12, to emphasize, as Meredith did, curriculum coordinator for art and music. So because of the way that our classes are structured and the way that the schools are separated, I actually had a good time this year getting in touch with some staff members that I hadn't really met before. As Meredith was saying, this is only my 3rd year in Littleton, so a lot of the people that I'm working with have been here much longer than I have. So it's been interesting to get their perspectives about what's happening in their departments, as well as to just see what they're doing in their classrooms. I had never actually seen the Shaker Lane Art Room until we started meeting this year, so it was great.
It's a nice place to hang out.
It is. It's a lovely place to hang out. So this year, Shaker Lane Art focuses basically on basic skills, like drawing and painting and simple shapes and creating depth and those types of things. But what I thought was particularly great was touching on other subjects that they learn during the school day and bringing that into the art room. Learning about cityscapes and landscapes. They learned about different animals and were able to tie together both the artistic skills and the things that they're learning in their classroom. They also did a big celebration for Youth Art Month, which is in March. And they held an exhibition at the public library, and all of their artwork was hung up there in the library for everybody to come and see. And then at school, they created a huge display where the kids got to discuss why art is important to them. And they have an art show coming up on June 4th.
June 11th.
So June 11th, okay, it's been changed. On June 11th.
With the music program.
Yes. I was actually thinking that that's the day of the Russell Street concert. So, and so that at that place you can see all of their examples of some artwork that will be up at Shaker Lane. So moving. Oh, and Stephanie Ignacio, the art teacher at Shaker Lane, will be leaving us this year. So we wish her well in her new and future endeavors. So moving on to Russell Street, Andrea Romano builds on what the students have learned at Shaker Lane by emphasizing the skills that they learned and then building on it a little bit more to learn a little bit more about expression and dimension and different mediums. So they start to explore a little bit more into like printmaking, weaving, sculpting, those sorts of things. They did a great project this year where they were able to create puppets. Andrea was inspired by Jim Henson. So the kids worked on a 2 or 3 week project where they created a character and then made a puppet out of the character and then used the puppet making techniques to act out things with the characters. They just had their art show and it was a smashing success, and their artwork is still up at Russell Street if you want to go take a look. I was walking through the halls today and enjoying that. And looking forward, they're thinking of ways that they might be able to make a meaningful contribution to the tercentennial. So that's great. At the middle school, Erin Uptegrove is new this year, but I have heard anecdotally from students that they're having a lot of fun and learning quite a bit from her in the art room, and they're really enjoying themselves. So again, building on the basic skills and then moving into some more advanced mediums, the more clay and plaster, painting, drawing. And they also learn a little bit more about art movements, surrealism and expressionism and those types of things. They also had some students receive an honorable mention in the Massachusetts Duck Stamp competition, Julia Feltus and Emma Hartzell. And they also received recognition in the Marine Life competition. So it was another great way to tie in environmental causes into the art room. And I know that the girls really felt honored at that. And they will be having, I say they, we will be having an art show coinciding with our spring concert at the middle school. And at that art show, Erin plans to display some of the artwork for silent auction in hopes of raising money to purchase a printing press for next year. So May 29th is the concert and is the art show. Art show starts at 6, concert's at 7:30, so come on by. Check us out. Moving along. At Littleton High School, we had classes offered this year in the art department as digital design, digital photography, art foundations, painting and drawing, ceramics 1, ceramics 2, portfolio, and AP art history. I know that art history, AP art history had been offered in the past, and then it went away for a while, and it came back this year, so that was a great thing that we were able to offer. And just discussing with Emily Hosfeld, she was talking about perhaps structuring our ceramics courses a slightly different way so that they don't have to be taken sequentially, so that students could take ceramics. I already forget how she referred to it, but it would be 2 different ceramics classes, but they wouldn't have to be taken in any particular order. So that would allow a little bit more leeway as far as choosing electives go at the high school in the art department. There was also some student recognition there for the Boston Globe Scholastic Awards. Emily Malone won a gold key. Jennifer Goldstein won a silver key, and Megan McCann won a silver key, and the awards were on display, or the award-winning work was on display at the Transportation Building in Boston from February until April, and some students also received honorable mentions, like Emily Malone, Carolyn McCann, and Chloe Shelford.
Hear that name.
Yes, keeps coming up. So moving on to the music side of it. General music at the middle school. I teach however many sections it is, 5, 6. And Steve Bergman teaches the other half. And it is a way to allow the middle school students an opportunity to learn music without a public performance. So we touch on all different aspects of music, from performing within the classroom on keyboards. We play drums, we play guitars. Students have had an opportunity to learn how to compose. We use lots of digital digital recorders to record our voice, record our playing, all different kinds of things. We also have some programs that we use for composing. Specifically, we like Noteflight very much. So they've also learned how to write a detailed critique on their own work, plus their peers' work, plus any work that they've really heard of, and what makes a good critique and what is just telling someone that you didn't like it. So we're working a lot on the vocabulary, particularly at the middle school level, as well as using terms that mean things. Trying to be the diplomatic way. I read a lot of journal entries about critiques, and at the beginning of the year to the end of the year is really great to read what they consider a critique at the beginning of the year and then what they actually have as a critique at the end of the year. It's an interesting perspective. So we're looking forward to next year. We will have a few more digital recorders and hopefully the opportunity to get some more software to help students learn music a little bit more and to make the assessment process a little easier for me with the digital recorder so that I can just record and then listen to them at later dates. The middle school and high school band program. At the middle school, we build on the very basic skills that we start at Russell Street, just learning technique of how to play an instrument. And by the time they've gotten to the middle school, they've got a basic knowledge of how they play their instrument. So when we get to the middle school program, it's more about building ensemble skills and playing as a large group, as well as creating technique and learning how to be a group of 30 but one, if that makes any sense. They are 30 individuals, but we are all together, one band. So we spend a lot of time talking about how one individual can affect 29 other people, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. So we focus on that a lot. We played some patriotic selections at Beth Morgan's Veterans Day ceremony at the beginning of the year. And we had our winter concert, and we are currently gearing up for our spring concert, which is, as I mentioned, May 29th at the middle school. And some of our 8th graders will be joining the high school band to play at the high school graduation ceremony. A tradition that was started last year, actually while I was on maternity leave, but I liked it so much that I thought it was a great thing to kind of break them into their new peer group as they'll be playing with the high school band. Plus, it also helps alleviate how my band gets very tiny at the end of the year with all the seniors graduating. So we have a lot of seniors graduating from the band this year. 2 of our 8th grade students, James McDonough and Kate Pelaya, were selected to perform with the Junior District Festival. And this was back in March, and they auditioned among hundreds of students from all of eastern Massachusetts. Littleton is actually the smallest and westernmost town in the Eastern District, which sort of puts us at a disadvantage because we're working with very huge districts. But both of them placed very high in their sections. They both sat first chair with near perfect scores. So it's very, very proud of them. I'm looking forward to restructuring some grading next year at the middle school with more emphasis placed on an oral assessment playing test rather than on practice. I went to a professional conference in March, the MMEA conference, and I went to a few different sessions about grading in an ensemble setting. And I liked a lot what they had to say about if you assign somebody a test, that it creates, obviously practicing is what you need to do in order to get to be a better musician. But if you assign somebody a specific, this is what you're going to be tested on, it sort of creates an inherent need to practice without having to assess that as a skill. And then the end result is that they have learned what you wanted them to learn and learned practicing skills in the process. So definitely something I'm looking at to restructure for next year. And so then moving on to the LHS band. We have had an eventful and exciting year. We added a performance in October, cutely called Sweets and Sweets, although I was voted down by the students who quoted, quote unquote, said that it was lame. I thought it was cute. So we went with it anyway, which we used as a fundraiser to help fund our trip to Florida. We raised over $500, and given that we had to have a date change because of Hurricane Sandy, I would say that our attendance was really well. So we were pleased with that. I chose student leaders in the band and gave them a small group of students and said, here's your music, go teach them. So it was a smaller group setting, and students had the opportunity to learn how hard and easy it can be to deal with their peers in a musical setting. So obviously I was around to help guide them through, but the very first few rehearsals, definitely there was a lot of like, I don't know what to do. So it was interesting, and it was, I think they really learned a lot, and they gained quite a bit from it. We had a great football season, went off without a hitch. Our winter concert was great. In February, we traveled. The band went to Florida. We went to Disney World. From what I understand, I think that's the first time the band has traveled in over 50 years. We do have a small little snippet of our performance in Florida. There it is. The weather was horrible the whole time we were there, and the one day that we performed, it was sunny and beautiful. Yes. 21 students attended of 33 in the band. Birds were loud.
Bob. That was Ethan.
Daryl's daughter.
22 minutes long. so I
Yeah, it's
don't
very,
think-
it's a very long video. I promise you don't have to watch the whole thing. I was there, I haven't even watched the whole
But
thing.
if you want to watch the whole thing, she can make the link available so you
Yes.
can watch it.
Yeah, if anybody wants it, I can send you the link, and it's also available on
The website?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
We also, while we were there, this was we had one day of a workshop with Disney professionals. This was the following day we had our performance. And the day with the Disney professionals was really great, better than I thought it was actually going to be. We were a little apprehensive going into it because we were a very small group in general. And we only took 21 of the 33 kids in band. And I had a lot of my students, who it's a testament to them, have learned how to double instruments all on their own. Like some kids, you all know Ethan, taught himself how to play French horn, and Ethan Rambacher taught himself how to play tuba. These kids have all done this themselves to help balance out our instrumentation when we have those holes that we just don't have people that play those instruments. So when we arrived in Disney, the workshop person kind of gave me a comment about only 21 performers, and I could tell he was judging us from that right away. But the workshop was incredible, and the kids blew him out of the water. The final result of the workshop was that we got to score a small section of film for the Disney version of Tarzan. And so they kind of showed us how, like, we all got to see how click tracks work, and like watching a video and learning how to play, and sort of walking through the process of what a professional musician would do and how it would go. And so the kids spent the day learning the music, and we pulled off the recording. I'm so proud of them. One take. They said they've never had a high school do that. So they've had other larger, bigger, more expensive programs, and college bands even too, that were unable to do it, and that they did it on the first take. So we got a lot of accolades and kudos, and the professionals were very impressed that we had a number of students that were doubling instruments. So they're awesome. I also said that it was a testament to our community that 21 students traveled 1,500 miles on their own time over April vacation, and were a complete delight. Everybody was wonderfully behaved. Like, the worst thing that happened was the weather, and really, that's not so bad. One kid got a fever. That's it. So they were really, really great kids. We plan to repeat this trip in 2 years, so we'd like to make it an every 2 to 3 year kind of thing. It's a huge undertaking for me, so I need a break from that too. We had our annual spring concert May 7th. It was a huge success, and we're looking forward to wrapping up our year with our Memorial Day performance on Monday. If anybody's in town, come catch the band in the parade. We'll be there, and then we have, I'm trying to think of the order of the dates. Then we have our Russell Street concert on June 4th. So come and find our youngest but most enthusiastic musicians in the town. And then finally high school graduation, where you'll see the high school band once again. And so that's about all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just have general comments about all the presentations, and basically on the lines of that, it's obvious that the constant revisiting and evaluation of the curriculum and the way you guys implement your programs, you can feel that it's almost a certainty that improvements are going to be made over time. And the amount of effort you guys put forth, you can see the success when you guys talk about, increased enrollment in foreign language and increased enrollment in STEM majors and things like that. You can see that the kids are becoming directly engaged by the efforts that you guys put forth. And it's obvious that the breadth and rigor of the education in Littleton is a lot different than what I experienced in a similar small-town district a long time ago. I feel confident having kids in the district that, all the students are served well. We feel that all the time when we talk about different, the RTI programs and things like that. But what you see when I hear this is that any student who really wants to excel in Littleton has every opportunity to do so. I mean, they have the courses, they have the teachers, they have the curriculum, it's in place, and you can see that the kids that do choose to excel can do so, and then the reports that are coming back to us from how they feel prepared when they get there, it's obvious that this type of effort has a significant and steady impact on the kids, and it's great to listen to.
Alex?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on how the trip was funded. The students did a lot of the fundraising themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that number was, just so we can...
Like a total of how much was fundraised?
Yes.
It was a little over $2,500.
That's really, and among 21 students,
Yes.
and then the band, giving in the proceeds
Mhm.
from the fundraisers, as a whole. that's a remarkable testament to the dedication of the students and the generosity of the community. But if you think about that, if you divide that up by students and consider that they're, high school students, they don't have, a lot of money to give. And so the fact that the band was able to come up with that money and, have a good time, and is looking forward to doing that again in, 2 years, that's really incredible. And I think it's, hopefully going to be the first of, this might be, getting a little ahead of myself here, but hopefully the first of, several trips, maybe even a tradition for the band to become a traveling band, as it were. And I think that's
we would love that.
I think that's pretty excellent.
Each school committee member gave $250, Alex.
Oh, excellent. So do I pay the back year and then the next year all at once?
Check out you, Hillary.
Okay. And then on the health, just a quick question about the curriculum. Towards the beginning, you said that you were looking to change the curriculum around a bit at the high school and maybe the middle school a bit?
Just for the PE. Just for high school.
Just for the PE. And is that, are you looking into NASPE resources or any, or developing it just based on Middleton's unique?
We want the students to become active for life, so we want them to find activities that they enjoy and kind of stick with them. Currently, we're kind of, and Mike explained the same way, that sometimes even within the fitness class, even though it's a very strong program, to motivate those kids after 6 weeks of doing the same thing, they feel a little bit of a break. So we're trying to think of something where it's more of a combined effort. It's very beginning stages. Michael and I are really just kind of conversing. We have a class at the same time. So while they're kind of getting ready, we're taking attendance, we're just kind of talking about it. But we're both very excited to kind of move forward, which is moving forward with the times too. It's not your traditional PE anymore.
Right.
So we really want them just to be active.
Right, that's excellent. Because that really helps, not just once you're in the class, but later on. And I know there are a lot of resources out there, There's the National Association of, the Sports and Physical Educators, or Education. And they have a lot of resources. And I just want to, acknowledge the work that your department is doing, because we have this, and then we also have, probably 101 new regulations over the past 2 or 3 years that the Wellness Committee is taking on. And we're a small district, and I think that those sorts of changes are for the, the good of the students, but it requires a lot of heavy lifting, and we don't have a lot of, people to share that load. So I think the people who do, who are taking that on, are putting in a lot of good time and effort. So thank you.
Thank you.
There certainly are a lot of opportunities for funding, and I spoke with Kathy a lot about the Fuel Up to 60, and there's a lot of programs out there. Subway has something. I actually registered us. I forged Kathy's name and submitted for a $1,000 grant. There's a lot of that out there. Pepsi has stuff. Lowe's has stuff. There's a lot of it out there. So again, if you come across something and need our support, definitely reach out to us. It goes for both of you, all of you. There is something I requested some information about, and this goes towards the wellness thing. There's an organization, a family who lost a young child in a Little League baseball game, and they have a foundation where they give free assistive devices. Thanks. And I've reached out to them to try to find out. It's usually for youth baseball and softball programs, but they did, on their website, they mentioned schools and stuff, so I'm trying to find out information for that. So ideally, there's a couple people in town that have said that they'll work with me on that, and to maybe put one at each school in a location where everybody would know, even if somebody's using the field, where it's somewhere where someone can go grab it, and it's on almost like a golf cart or something.
We do have free at the high school.
In the building?
In the building.
Right, but if someone's out on the field.
Right, absolutely.
We have one on the cart, too.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, we have one on the cart.
On the golf cart?
We do.
Okay. On the golf cart.
That goes to the field.
And the green grass grows all around?
Yep. Tying it all together
Yeah.
here.
John Deere one. All right, Gator, right. The only thing, the only other comment I have is left out theater.
Oh my goodness, you're right, I did. I had notes to, I'm sorry. I apologize.
But my comment about theater, and it's okay that you left it out, but I'd love to see the band in Chicago with the band up on the set, underneath the set. That was awesome. And I know the kids loved it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd love to see the kids involved, going forward. I don't know if it was, Joseph might have been a tough score. I'm not really sure why they weren't involved with Joseph, but I'd love to see them back on, either in the pit or up on the stage to be
Me as
part of
well.
that production.
Me
Absolutely.
as well, yes, absolutely. I apologize, I can't believe I forgot.
That's
that.
okay.
Totally forgot the stage.
That's all I am.
In my defense, it's an hour and a half past my bedtime.
Amen.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
If I were the chairman, we'd have been out of here about an hour and a half.
It's not idle gossip.
You did vote for him. We were watching that.
His fault, right?
Feels like change.
Because of the importance of the youth risk behavior survey, and you mentioned that, so thank you for mentioning it, and that you do reach out and touch all the students in the health department, and you're the only department that really probably sees each and every child almost daily. What I'd like to do on the auspices of the Safety and Security Subcommittee is invite you back and talk through some more of those things, is to, okay, we had the behavior, the study briefed to us by Emerson Hospital. You've had that now for it's about maybe 2 months, almost 3 months. So we're getting awareness as to some of the things that are going on. But I'd like to know, what do we need to do to help you all affect some changes that we think need to be made? And then not only what inside the school department, but the town at large, what needs to happen. So if you work with Daryl on that, figure out how much time you need. At some point, maybe by middle of September, I'd say at the latest, please, because I understand the summer break and everything. Come back to us. And I don't want to say come back with a laundry list.
Send that to me.
I know. But certainly prioritize some things that you think as a school committee we can help you all with. And then how do you think we best advocate with other folks in town, other boards, whatever it may be, other community civic groups, to help you so that we can work remediation and mitigation to some of those issues. Is that okay, folks?
I can come tomorrow. I have it all set up, ready to go.
But we're going to put her earlier on the agenda.
And we will do that, yes. So, thank you. Okay, anybody else have general comments for the group? All right, segueing on that, my last comment, you talked vertical and then horizontal integration. Okay, got that, know what it means. We talk in business all the time about doing those sorts of things. But then again, just as now I asked you about the health and wellness of the children, what can we do to help make you, not wrong words, what can we do to help you achieve what you want to do in those integrations? In other words, what don't you have that you would need to be able to do that better?
I'll say it.
Yes, please, Elizabeth.
Time.
Okay.
Time.
And now that's good. Now, how do we help you get the time? What do we need to do?
I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that. Time to work within our departments, time to work with each other. We do a lot of that. And really time, as our job description has changed and we have less time to work on the curriculum type goals, that's been a struggle for, I think, all of us.
Personally, I teach 6 classes on a semester. And I have 4 different classes. And so
It's a lot of prep. Gotcha.
So that's per semester. So so my responsibility is to map 5 different courses and teach my 6 classes and
facilitate communication in
your department. So for me personally, I need a lot of time.
And some cloning.
I'm mapping 6 and teach 6, so
Right.
yeah, 6 different.
Science department,
All
that
right,
cloning.
is it okay if we give you all homework assignment?
I would love
Sounds like they have time for it.
Yeah, it's
You
fine.
don't have time for it.
Limited amounts of it, yeah.
Give us some ideas how we can help you there, okay? Filter them up through the administration, or if you want to come back, please come back. Plenty happy you all come back. Appreciate you being here tonight, especially as long as you've been. But filter them all up the way you want, Kelly, and principals.
We'll filter it up through the administration, and the high school's looking at scheduling options and things like that. We're trying to build more team time. I know Russell Street's doing the same thing. But commonality, I don't care where you go in this day and age, you ask that question, you're going to get the same answer.
I mean, Frank, you guys get the bulk of the work to do there, but what can we as a school committee do to help you is all I'm asking.
I would also say my department would say time and staff.
Staff, gotcha. Okay.
And with staff will come with time.
Well, I think that's what I, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
With staff will bring.
They kind of go hand in hand.
They do.
Gotcha. Anybody, any closing? Hey, you hung in there. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
I think Kelly has
Oh, I'm sorry, Kelly.
Just a couple of comments. What you saw here tonight was a brief synopsis of what these people do. And they do so much in terms of providing leadership. And it takes a great amount of intensity, dedication to move the way we have in a few years in terms of curriculum within this district. And, you know, they come here tonight and did a wonderful job of presenting a synopsis, but you just need to know that it takes a tremendous amount of time to move from where we were to where we are. And I'm very grateful for their leadership. I'm grateful for Dr. Ajamian's leadership, and I'm excited about where we're going to keep going. And I'm very proud of their leadership, very proud of where we are as a district, and that just doesn't happen without people pulling together and working to accomplish a vision. And our vision is to make sure that our students are well prepared to continue their journey. So just thank you for everything that you do.
Yeah, thank you.
And Chairman Avella, and I'm concerned about our new member here, Chloe. Chloe has an early day tomorrow,
I was
so.
going to ask, can I excuse myself? I have an AP exam at 8 a.m.
Oh.
So I
Are those hard?
We would have sent you home earlier.
Thanks, Chloe.
All right, thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Get some rest for
Kelly, you want to take a
Sure.
See you. Good morning.
Thank you.
I'll make up some time here as we move forward. Recognitions, I've listed a number of them. A couple I want to highlight. The Scholars Academic Luncheon was a real treat to attend the Merrimack Valley Scholars Luncheon with Principal Harrington and myself and two young ladies, Liz and Brogdon and Ella Duncan. 27 school districts were represented, and depending on the size of the district, they brought their top 2 scholars or top 3. Again, it was another proud moment to listen to not only our students' accomplishments, but the accomplishments of students around the region, and just realize that our students were stellar. So it was great.
Add something to that?
Sure.
I mean, 2 amazing students that we have in the senior class. We have so many amazing students in the senior class, but these 2 particular students were chosen for this Academic Scholars Luncheon and were nominated. And Ella Duncan is heading off to Harvard College, and Liz Imbrogna has been accepted into the University of Massachusetts Honors College and Heisenberg School of Business. But the thing about Liz I'd like to share is that she received the Jack Welch Scholarship, which is incredibly prestigious. Everything is paid for. In terms of tuition and room board. It's a huge deal for her and her family. So we're so excited for both of them and their wonderful accomplishments. I just wanted to share that with you.
That's awesome. That's excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
Mom and Dad are happy.
A number of school committee members, as well as myself, were witness to our high school academic awards night, where over 200 awards were given out to our students. It was a real treat. Again, this is a time of celebration this year in terms of what our students and staff have done. And it truly has been a month of celebration. At the same time, we need to keep in mind that our students are under a lot of pressure this time of year as they prepare for their culminating exams. And our teachers, this is what I call the harvest season. They need to be at their best. They need to keep our kids engaged and make sure that they're reviewing strategies are effective. And as a result of that, we witness what we have here, have seen more correctly this evening in terms of where we're moving.
Oh, one second.
Just, if I could just interject, you mentioned the high school academic awards, and it was from what I understand, because I got there as everybody was leaving. It was like a salmon going upstream. But I think it's worth mentioning Beth Powers, who was recognized as the teacher of the year at the high school. So I think.
Yes. Thank you. That was great. Yeah. Nice to see. That is such a nice thing for a school to do, is to recognize a teacher every year. Very well deserving of the recognition. National Honor Society recognition. A number of us had the pleasure of attending that evening as well. Shaker Lane did something new this year. They had a race for education. First time they've done this. And what really fascinated me is we ended up getting the money in, all of it in today. And I had Steve and the accountant, accounts payable person come to see me. And I thought, uh-oh, what's going on here? And it was a celebration, not we need your advice. So that was a treat in itself. But to make a long story short, in the sake of time, that event raised $12,100. Unbelievable.
That's very nice.
Yes, yes. So very well done, and thank you for your leadership in helping make that happen.
Thanks to Crystal Dion, one of the parents, and Kathy Hibbert. Good group, great group of people to work with, and we were able to tie it in with the Fuel Up to 60 program that Kathy's doing. We spent a lot of time walking outside that morning, but it was a great event, great event.
I'll say Brady is a student at Shaker Lane. He sent his notices out to the grandparents, the aunts and uncles, and they were relieved that they didn't have to buy wrapping paper, candles. And my mother commented, my mother teaches in the city of Boston. She said, you know, she's going to bring this to her school because it told her exactly what the money was going to be used for, and she had no problem writing a check out.
Have her call me. Not for another check, huh?
Donation. Yeah. So I think it was appreciated. And people
That's
like,
great.
you know what, this is great. We know what the money's going towards, and I think people appreciate that.
That's great feedback. Thank you. Relay for Life, an excellent event for our community, and what's so powerful about this event is a lot of the leadership comes from our high school students. And in the end, they raised over $50,000 for this year's event. It's just fascinating, and another proud moment for us, not only as a school district, but as a community. So again,
Beautiful facility.
Very well done. The curriculum coordinator spoke tonight about the art shows and the concerts that we have, or had more correctly, and it's been a real treat to witness our students perform and having an opportunity to see the development of the whole child, which we talk about a lot, and it's nice to see it in action rather than just talking about it. So for all those people that make it happen, thank you. Upcoming events, Shaker Lane concert, May 29th. Middle school concert is also May 29th.
28th.
28th, okay.
So Shaker Lane is the 28th.
Shaker Lane is 28th, middle school is 29th. Okay, calendar must have messed up. Russell Street Band and Chorus, June 4th, I believe. Middle school play, June 6th. And again, our grand culminating activity, high school graduation, June 7th.
Middle school play, I think, is that whole weekend.
Yeah.
So June 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Actually, 6, 8, and 9.
6, 8, and 9.
We're getting out of the way of graduation.
Oh, excellent.
Thank you.
So basically, it's like, you got about a week, we just go to the schools and something cool is going to show up.
Just stay.
Two things at one night, but every night there'll be one cool thing going down. All right.
I have something going on, I think, every night every day from the 28th of May till the 28th.
That time of year, the sprint to the finish.
You can buy the week, the one pass, and
Could
get
do that.
you into everything.
$20, Chuck, I've got a deal for you.
Moving along, old business, we provided in your package a preliminary 3-year maintenance plan. I'm calling it a green print because it's going to be changing and evolving with time. What I'm finding out as we move forward, I'm glad we finally have something that's getting constructed. I'm going to personally walk around with each principal because I have a lot of experience in the area of maintenance, and I'm going to show them how to look for things when they're just walking around the school looking at other things, so that we can keep on top of certain areas. And they've done a good job as a preliminary run-through, but I think it's a kind of a new area for most of them. And that will certainly help us not only identify these areas, but allow us to budget a budget line that's constant and consistent throughout time. And that's our goal, is to figure out what we need to do and then parcel it out over 3 or 4 years and have a constant sum of money allocated to help out in that area. That will greatly help us reduce surprises in terms of things breaking down without us being able to budget for them. And again, we're fortunate because of the condition of our schools. Superintendent's report.
Hold on one second, Kelly.
Sure.
Let me get new business before we go there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Alex, tell us a little bit about a legislative advocacy day, please.
Sure, absolutely. So every year, the Massachusetts Association of School Committees has its own Day on the Hill. They'll bring representatives from different school committees to Beacon Hill to meet with their own legislators about certain MASC priorities. This year, it was pushed back, and so it actually coincided with the first day of the Senate debate on the budget, which was helpful because everyone's working on the same stuff that we're asking for. And because both the senator and the rep, Senator Jamie Eldridge and State Rep Jim Arciero, were very busy that day, they both came out to the district the week prior to meet with me and to discuss some of our priorities. And we discussed a lot of, we found a lot of common ground on trying to make sure that the cost of certain state requirements is not, as is common practice almost, to give to the district, trying to figure out ways so that the district doesn't sort of get penalized for the state asking us to do something that we're sometimes happy to do, but we need the resources to do it. Educator evaluations being just one example. And we also talked about how we wanted to make sure that the circuit breaker isn't as, we're looking for as high a number as we can get, frankly, because that's not just a reimbursement for out-of-district costs. It's 4 times, it's a reimbursement for pupils, correct me if I'm wrong, who cost the district 4 times more than average. And then it's a partial reimbursement after that, is that correct? And I believe last year we had about 68 or 66% reimbursement rate, which is, better than it has been in some years, but it certainly is still a very big burden to the school district budget. This year, I believe we're looking at around 70%.
That's what they tell us.
Which is, pretty high. The budget's not final, but it's, a better number than we got last year and the year before and the year before that. It's still not everything that we, would like, but we're moving in that direction. And speaking with both the senator and the rep, they understand that that's a priority and that we need to, there's only so much that we can do as a district when we're trying to provide services to as many students as possible. That is really a big burden on us fiscally. And I have some good news to take us all away from that sort of dreary aspect of the circuit breaker is last night the Senate was working through about 300 or 400, maybe more, amendments to their budget. And one amendment that was added to the budget.
Sorry, my pen just.
That's right. Keeping me awake.
Okay. Everybody awake?
Are you trying to get me to shut up?
Ready for the good news.
The good news, yes.
These fireworks.
Chapter 70, the formula that determines how much state aid school districts receive, has not been updated since 1993, since ed reform. And last night, the state Senate finally added a amendment to the budget that would establish I believe they're calling it the Massachusetts Educational Foundation Budget Review Commission. You can check me if that's not what it's called. You get the picture. What they will do is they will go out, if this is passed, they will go out and examine how much education has changed since 1993, 20 years, and then report back to the legislature what an updated formula should look like. Now, MASC is going to have a rep on that. The Massachusetts Budget and Policy and Budget Foundation will have a rep on that. I believe there are a number of different state union organizations that will have reps on that. So hopefully these sorts of commissions will be very valuable in making sure that our formula is up to date. And I think everyone agrees that it is not. 20 years in education is, well, in my case, it's a lifetime. But I think even just looking at education,
Generation.
yes, it is. Just looking at how education has evolved in 3, 4, 5 years, we can see, whoa, we need this where we didn't need that. That's going to affect our expenditures. And so if this amendment to the state Senate budget is held on when they conference with the House and then passed on into the final budget signed by the governor, we will be looking at we'll be looking at progress being made. I'm not sure what the time frame would be. It's a advisory commission, so it sends its recommendations back to the legislature, but at least it's a step in the right direction that has certainly been a long time coming. So that's one thing we're looking forward to seeing take place. One thing that both the rep and the senator wanted to emphasize, and that I was very pleased to hear, was that they're interested in an ongoing discussion about these sorts of issues, and not just the annual meetings, but also long term as they're filing bills. They get started every session as they're working on bills through their committee memberships, and as bills come up through different committees and onto the floor. What is it they're looking? What is it that we need that they can provide to us? Just as we asked our coordinators that question, they asked that question to me. So I'm bringing that back here. I'm sure Chuck and I will have a great time talking about how to make that all work. One thing I wanted that we spoke on specifically was the new background checks for the educators. They wanted to know. Senator Eldridge wanted to know. What that cost was going to be to the district, because if they can say, well, Littleton Public Schools in my district is having to pay, having to shell out this amount of money for this law, it's a lot easier for them to say, we need to appropriate this money to reimburse the districts, or maybe even take it, maybe have ESC even rebuild, or whatever needs to happen.
It's around 13,000.
13,000. All right. I will communicate that to him in his office.
It'd be nice if they thought about that before they actually.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
It might be
proactive, reactive.
It might be nice if they get the infrastructure in place to implement the requirement that they levied on us.
Right, right, absolutely. And the difficult thing here is, you want to do so much, and the money's got to come from somewhere, and too often that comes on the LEAs. I'm sorry. In Littleton, we say LEAs, the union. The local education authorities are too often the carriers of that burden. And while these programs, these new educator evaluations, the background checks, these are things designed to help our schools, they come with a price, and it's not helpful for us to have that cost be borne entirely by the school district, out of nowhere at times. So that's something that we're hoping to work on as we go on.
Check their calendars, if you would, at the start of the school year, that's when they'd be available to come see us.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Couldn't get them here last time,
Mhm.
so it'd be nice if we could, once in a while. Thanks. Okay, Kelly, go ahead, please.
Sure. Upcoming components of our agendas on the June 6th school committee meeting, student handbook presentations, middle school findings from our homework committee. Daryl and I were talking about the possibility of a public hearing on our search policy also at that meeting. Also would like to add, you've heard testaments this evening on what impact changing our available funds in terms of having teachers be able to use some money for conferences has had. It has had a tremendous impact on our system in 1 year, within a 1 year period. So Jerry Lynn and I will be doing a brief synopsis of professional development at our next meeting in terms of what we've done this year. June 13th, school improvement plan presentations will be the focus of that meeting. And next item 4, I'm not sure how aware you were. We have talked about this before, but we have a CPR review going on, a comprehensive program review, and they apparently they postponed it for a year because we had NEAS visitation, but what we didn't know at the time is this is the year that we produce all the data for them, and we have to upload it all to them. So as a result, we've actually been doing the review, uploading everything for them so that they can take a look at it in the fall. It's been a tremendous burden on our district, given the personnel that we have, and I'd really like to give Diana Peterson accolades for helping us through this process. Two areas they looked at were civil rights and a full SPED review. Safety and security, Darrell, I don't think you have anything on that tonight. Okay, excellent. Well, just one other item, if you don't mind. Bus registration. Steve just wanted to talk about it for a minute or two because the process has changed a little bit.
Right, so bus registration is open. This is for next school year, so if you have to register students to ride the bus next year, that information is available on the website. If you bear with me and just give me a second, there's the information. This is the website. So there's 4 areas that people want to look at. There's a click here for information that will bring up a letter that has lots of useful information. I urge people to take a look at that and read that. There's a frequently asked questions page on here as well. And then there's what's new this year. Why I wanted to show you is we're utilizing a new tool for our busing, for our mileage calculator. So people can put in, if you click on it, and I won't do it tonight, if you enter that, it's a tool, it actually piggybacks off the town GIS system, and you can put in your address, and then if you go to the far right-hand side of your address, there's a school bus, and if you click on that school bus, it will come up with a list of all of the schools and the distance that your residence is to the school, so you can use that determination to see if you're within the 2 miles or over the 2 miles or under the 2 miles, and have to register and pay that fee. So, and then you can pay online. Obviously, there's a link to our online payment system, and information about the payment and the fees for that is under that link. And I urge people, if they want to pay online, it's easier for everybody, but I urge people who want to pay online to do the ACH transaction, and then you don't incur additional fees. So I just wanted to bring that to light. We will send out a broadcast message probably later this week to all the households from our call system, just alerting people of that. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so, our meeting policy says that we stop at 11. At 10:30, we make determination how much longer we're going to go. So the determination I'd like us to consider at this point is the rest of the subcommittee reports will be put off till next meeting, and we'll go to interested citizens. Are we okay with that?
Sure. Darrell, how do you feel about that?
Sure.
Interested citizens?
I didn't bring candy tonight, so
All right.
I think people
Push
are
it off then,
disappointed.
maybe.
Okay, no interested citizens at this point? Entertain a motion.
Do we have to go into executive
Hang
session?
on.
I make a motion that we adjourn from the meeting.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, folks. And thank everybody for coming on, and thank the teachers, please. They really come tight.